Down there. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Please be seated. I'd like to welcome everyone to tonight's meeting of the Whitby Town Council. Notice of meeting. Public notice of the meeting is given in accordance with Schedule 12, paragraph 10.2 of the Local Government Act 1972. Moving on to the agenda. Number 1, apologies for absence. To receive and resolve upon apologies for inability to attend.
Chair, I have apologies from Councillor Abbott, Councillor Smith and Councillor Mrs Sumner.
Could I have someone to accept those apologies? Councillor Knock. All those in favour? Thank you. Declaration of interest. To declare any interest which members have in the following agenda items. Councillor?
Member of Whitby Town Deal Board.
Thank you.
Also member of the Whitby Town Deal Board.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Member of Whitby Town Deal Board.
Thank you. Item 3, public participation. Standing orders will be suspended for up to 15 minutes to allow for questions or statements about business items on the agenda submitted by members of the public, limited to 3 minutes per person. Do we have people who wish to speak?
I have prior notification firstly from Andy Jefferson.
Thank you.
Andy Jefferson, Whitby Community Network. This meeting will be discussing what to do about the town poll. The town had such a poll in June last year when residents turned out in large numbers and requested a primary residence clause on new build housing. The simplest way of achieving this, in this council's remit, is to create a neighbourhood plan. July last year, Planning Committee recommended undertaking a neighbourhood plan. September last year, full council said, yes, let's do a neighbourhood plan. And, well, here we are 15 months later. No discernible progress. Such inaction only serves to disrespect the people who turned out in their numbers, 2,000 plus. And it also has an impact on their faith in voting for anything in this parish if the council doesn't follow through. Instead, we have meaningless housing motions calling on North Yorkshire Council to do things outside their remit and consequently achieving nothing. Can this council please cease and desist from activities that achieve little and instead focus its efforts on delivering this long-awaited neighbourhood plan? Something that could make a meaningful difference to people here, to people out there. Two basic questions that require answers. What are the current timescales of achieving your neighbourhood plan? And secondly, which groups other than the Community Network are going to take part in it? Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair, the timescale remains that a neighbourhood plan, once commenced, should be capable of being delivered within 18 months. There are clearly changes in the Levelling Up Act, which has just been approved by Parliament, that enable variation in the way that neighbourhood plans are put together. So far, of those groups approached, only Whitby Community Network has offered membership of the steering group. The Civic Society has declined because they're not able to provide anyone, and other groups who've been approached have not responded positively. It should be the case that the council should appoint its members to the steering group and attempt to make progress, but whether there's a means of the steering group widening its own membership would be the clear way to take that forward. There's an opportunity when we consider committee memberships for council tonight to appoint to the steering group and to move progress.
Right, thank you. Any other public participation? Yes.
Sorry, Janet Broad.
Janet Broad, yes, sorry.
Good evening, Dr. Janet Broad. I'm a resident in Whitley and I was born here. This question is regarding item 4 on the agenda, which is Harbourside Public Realm consultation. My question is, looking at the scant information available to residents regarding this plan for the town, it appears that the plan on the whole is predicated on tourism being a good thing for the town. I would like to ask where the empirical evidence for this assertion is, and drilling down into this evidence, what type of tourism is of benefit to the town and its permanent residents, and what type of tourism is of less benefit to the town. My argument there is that not all tourism is of benefit to the town. If we take the Goth weekend last weekend, when fields were ripped up, Westcliff was ripped up, the park at the Abbey was ripped up by tyres from big vehicles, from camper vans, from cars. Nothing was done. It wasn't policed, it wasn't managed, and the town was in chaos. It took me 5 minutes to get across the Swing Bridge. So something I think needs to be done about tourism and its impact on the town. And as far as I can see, we have very little evidence of what its impact is, other than anecdotal. Nobody seems to have investigated it and come up with anything that says why it's good for the town, why it's bad for the town. So I'd like to request that something is done about that. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, as you said, on item 4, we will be hearing soon from North Yorkshire about the Harbourside Public Realm elements.
The third pre-notified was Val Appleton, Chair.
Thank you.
Firstly, I'd like to agree with everything that has just been said by the previous speaker. We are losing our town. We live in a historic town that, yes, depends on a level of tourism, but not to the extent that the town has to be spoiled, else it will lose its value. We love our historic buildings, or should I say, I thought everybody did, until they actually decided to put that plinth platform, whatever name it's given, onto the old town hall in a conservation area. I see planning applications for that area, and it always refers to that you can't do this in a conservation area, you shouldn't do that, and yet there's proposals not only for the conservation area, but to actually add something to a 1788 building. I am totally against it, and I always will be. But 2 weeks ago, a man arrived at that building with a drill to put up the Christmas decorations. When I found that out the following morning, I phoned Councillor Swanee, I phoned the town clerk and various other people to complain about it. Why would that be happening when you're going to renovate it? Why would somebody be there with a drill, drilling into the old town hall? So, Michael King said he would deal with it. That person shouldn't have been there, should not have been doing anything, and he would ensure it was stopped. But it shouldn't have been happening in the first place. And I'm shocked at the lack of value that is given to something as historic and important. And it's happening all over the town, as we see with these plans that you're going to be looking at. It's going to just make Whitby like Blackpool, and Whitby is not Blackpool. Blackpool has its own value, but that is not what Whitby is. It's not what attracts people. So I hope you all listen to what the previous speaker said about tourism and about this. The residents aren't given the priority that they should be given. Thank you.
Okay.
Ian Dixon. I've attended a lot of meetings in the past, as you and a lot of the councillors know me. The Goth Weekend used to be a great event. A lot of people went to it. I used to love it. It's got out of hand. There was no policing whatsoever, what I could see. I got back into Whitby on Saturday afternoon. It was utter chaos. And it was brought up at council meetings in the past, years before, what would happen if somebody was to collapse or there was a fire on Henrietta Street, the top end of Church Street. Nothing's being done. There's people coming here and there's no policing of it. As my friend Dr. Janet pointed out, the town's ripped up parts of it by poor traffic management. And on this weekend, bridge was shut. What was that about? There wasn't any special events on. There was just, and I've been a coordinator on construction projects, there was just no coordination of anything in this town. It's just big events, utter shambles.
Do we have any more public participation? No? Right, well, thank you very much. I'm hoping some of the points raised can be covered as we go on through the agenda. We have police here, we have North Yorkshire councillors here, and maybe they can respond to some of the points that have been raised. We now move on then, item 4, Harbourside Public Realm Consultation. Area 3 Highways Manager, Richard Marr, to attend. Members should note that the start of the public consultation has been postponed from the 30th of October to the 9th of November. The consultation documents previously circulated on the 24th of October are subject to change and an update will be provided at the meeting. Richard Marr, thank you.
Thank you. Do you want me here?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. I don't know whether you want me to touch on those other questions first, or we
If you would like to, yes.
I'll have a go. Tourism, interesting point about the measurement of tourism and how much value that adds. I certainly know that ex-Scarborough Borough Council people used to have quite a lot of their tourism people look into that, a lot of surveys, a lot of data collected, saw some data that they were using where I think it tracked everybody's phone signal and would work out where that person was from and how many shops they went in, that sort of thing. So I haven't got the answers about the value, the hard dollar that tourism brings, but I can certainly put that to our tourism people, and I'm sure that they have something a bit better than just that belief that tourists are good. I think they should be able to put some numbers on that, because I've seen something similar that they've done in Scarborough. So I'll ask them about that. Goth Weekend, yes. The Goth Weekend that went quite recently was very, I'm trying to not say well attended, but that's wrong, but it was, there was an awful lot of people there. We've seen the damage that that's caused. We've raised it with the Scarborough Safety Advisory Group to look at trying to better manage the event next time. Usually when we have an event, we have an identifiable event organiser, and then we discuss events with them, like the Traction Engine Rally at the top of the hill, and we try and persuade them to put plans in place to deal with the problems that they can foresee and the problems that we can foresee. And the Safety Advisory Group is highways, licensing, police, fire, ambulance, North York Moors, Coast Guard, Harbour Master, and a few others. The problem we've had in the past is trying to identify a specific event organiser for the Goth Weekend. Very similar to the folk fair that happens, where each pub has their own little event on. Very hard to grab one event organiser who is liable for that event, and then we can discuss, like I say, cajole, persuade, and it is normally for events that we ask them to provide security, marshalling, SIA stewards, that sort of thing. But certainly what we've seen, and colleagues in the police have noted as well within the Safety Advisory Group, is that we need to do something more with the next event. How easy that's going to be if we can't actually get an event organiser, then does that fall to the council to start putting marshals in and starting to try and police that? Had an interesting email from a lady, quite rightly concerned. She was on the swing bridge trying to get across, so it took her 30 minutes to get across. But she said that she thought it would be easy to try and turn people away and stop them coming. That is my biggest problem. I can't stop people travelling along the highway. It's there to stop everybody or nobody. It's because she highlighted there were six coaches from.
So excuse me, could members of the public please be quiet while the gentleman's speaking? Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll be as quick as I can. Sorry. There was. She highlighted 6 coaches. I think came from Leeds on that day, and we could easily turn those away. I'm not sure the police have that power, but anyway, that's something we're going to discuss. But it is, with any open event, it is very hard to try and limit numbers, but we will look into that and see what we can do. Okay, public realm improvements around the swing bridge. I think a lot of you will know the history of this, and this consultation that we're just about to enter into, I think it goes live on the 10th. It's the initial consultation just to try and get people's involvement in the scheme. We want people to get involved, we want people to be active, we want people to comment on what they see, what they want to see, what they don't like, what they like. Hopefully with a little less venom than there have been with some of the projects recently in the town, but we'll see. And following we get that, when we get these comments in, we'll digest them, distill them, and then we'll start coming up with some proper engineering drawings, which will then come back out to consultation again for yourselves and the public to comment on, just to try and sort of zoom in on a proposal that the majority of people recognise and accept as an improvement. And been doing this job far too long now, but I know when you want to change anything, you never please everybody all of the time. And just to say, whilst we have been given this funding by the Whitby Town Deal Board, we are not wedded to any particular aspects of this. There's not something in these drawings that we are determined to see through. The main theory behind the whole project is to try and make it a little less car is king, to try and reduce the impact of the car in this area, to make it a little bit more nicer to move around in, trying to link up the two sides of the town and just try and make it a little nicer, whatever nicer is. I mean, I know some people think we're trying to move it towards Blackpool. That's not, we haven't got any blueprint that we want to impose on the town. We want the town to tell us what it wants, and we're not trying to make it look like anything else. We recognise that Whitby has its unique character, and the idea of this scheme is to just try and enhance that central area to make it a little bit more pedestrian friendly, a little bit more non-motorised vehicle use friendly, but whilst still acknowledging we've got to get vehicles through and across the bridge at certain times of the day. And finally, before I go through the slides, just to remind everybody, the main driver for asking for this money in the first place was the problems that we were encountering on the swing bridge during times of heavy visitor numbers. That conflict between driver and pedestrian, the police used to call us out. I used to have to phone up a couple of lads in workman's gear to put some orange barriers out to shut the road, and that was all a bit ad hoc, bit roadworky, and part of this scheme is just to try and make that a little slicker, a little more organised, and try to make it so it isn't a visual distraction to the town centre when we need to do that. So, quickly run through the presentation. Very kind of the client to get these printed out at such short notice. Thank you. That is much appreciated. And just for the ease of the consultation, we split the area down. There's 5 zones around the swing bridge, and then we've got the 6th zone out at Spittal Bridge. And what we have on the presentation, and what you've got in front of you are the boards that are going to be up at the public consultation that we're holding, 4 of those during the next few weeks in the Coliseum. And then there will be web pages online, some leaflets that we can hand out as well. We've had a few problems getting to this stage with a few unknowns that we've had to deal with along the way, mainly around the website, but that's some new legislation that we've decided to embrace. So, I mean, the second page on your document is the Langbourne roundabout area, and our initial thought there is to remove the roundabout, get it into more of a T-junction arrangement. We are talking with the bus operators to see how that impacts on what they can do, but we think there's an option for them to deal with that. To try and reduce the visual impact of that road when you're in that area, try and make it more look like a bit of a side street, just to try and deter people from wandering down there. Again, on the sheet we've got a photo. It's the same layout for most of the sheets. You've got a photograph of the existing, you've got an artist's impression of what might happen. It is very loose, it is very it is artistic, I suppose, just to try and get people thinking about what we could do, but more importantly, get them to tell us what they want to see. And there's a palette of colours and equipment that we could put up there. Third sheet, that moves into what we call the bank area. Just internally, we're not labelling it as that, it's just what we around the table call it. And again, very similar, try and reduce the width of the road, reduce the width of the tarmac. The colour of tarmac is an option that's up for debate. Some people like that beige coloured tarmac, if any of you have been to Scarborough Precinct. Others hate it. I'm just interested to get people's views on what they'd like to see as road surfaces as well. Try and introduce a bit of greenery. That has its problems. Certain species will only survive in these sorts of conditions. And obviously we don't want anything that's going too deep rooted either. So I'll whiz through the rest. I'm sure there'll be some questions after this. Next slide is what, again, internally we call Polar Bear Corner. And just that area there, just trying to do a bit more with it, make it a bit more attractive. Some places people just to sit and stop and look. And again, just try and make it look a little, it's just a slab of tarmac, it's very slightly vague tarmac at the moment. And then again, just to try and just lift the appearance of the area. This one's already produced quite a bit of debate. The one with the monkey puzzle tree. I'll be honest with you, it was something that I thought was nice. I thought it was something that linked Whitby to its path. But I recognise it's maybe a hard sell for people. Where it is probably isn't ideal. But it's in there, we're leaving it in the document just for debate. Like I said at the start, we're not wedded to anything. If this is laughed out of court, fine, it won't happen. But it is just to try and get the discussions going about what we could do, really. And the last bit about this area around Swingbridge is Tingbourne Car Park. Again, we're still convinced we need the area as a turning circle when the bridge is closed, and appreciate it's got additional problems that have come along with that. But the idea is to just, when we rebuild it, try and limit it so there isn't just a turning circle. And the other area we want to try and promote as an area where people can go and sit. It's a little bit away from the hustle and bustle of the town, looking out over the harbour. There was a debate over whether we had some sort of structure as you go into that area. And whilst that arch might look a bit like Whalebones, the idea is it is supposed to symbolise the Abbey. But again, it is just to get people's discussions going and see what they want. It's obvious we're going to have to do quite a bit of reconstruction in there. It seems that when those buildings were demolished, all the rubble was pushed into the cellars and then a butter knife's worth of tarmac was spread over the top. So we are having to go in quite deep when we do go in there to reconstruct it to make sure it's all right. And we are talking, or we have spoken in the past to the museum. I think they carried out a structural survey of their property because there were some concerns over that. So we will be working with them. And like with anything we do, if we've damaged somebody's property and we've shown that we have, there's a few legal caveats around that under the Highways Act, but we'll put that right. Final slide before I finish is Spittlebridge Junction. This was one area that was highlighted very strongly when we did the experimental closure all those years ago, and we're going to traffic signalise that junction and try and nip it in a bit, make it a bit more efficient at the junction. Obviously removing the existing pedestrian crossing that's there, the signalised crossing, that will be incorporated in with the traffic signals themselves. And for those of you who can see the picture on the left, that's just an indication of the traffic queues. And that was just something I wanted to get across, that because primarily the signalising this junction will help traffic come out of Spittlebridge area. To do that, it's got to have them on green. That means when you come across the new bridge and you come down from Sainsbury's, you will see a red light and you will have to queue. So there will be an additional queue on the A171, but yeah, just to highlight that fact really. The signals are too far away from Mayfield and up at Sainsbury's to try and link them together, but it's something our traffic signal engineer thinks he can monitor, and just he doesn't foresee one backing up into the other. You can see on the plan that they've got, the worst queue that the modellers have come up with doesn't get across New Bridge. So but it's something we will watch, and we can play around with the timings of the lights to an extent, to try and see if we can stop them getting interrupted with each other. But the signals engineers are confident that there we are. So that's the consultation document going live on the 10th, and it's going to be open for 6 weeks. That's the new minimum that we have to have consultations for, we're told. Welcome comments. Most of the comments hopefully will go to our website. I appreciate that not everybody is computer literate or has access to computers, so there are leaflets going out, written responses, telephone numbers, all sorts, and just encourage everybody to get in touch and say what they think, good, bad, indifferent. We want to try and make this as representative of what the people of Whitby want, as much as we can, and yeah, I'm running out of words now. I'm starting to ramble, sorry.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I'll open it to councillors. Councillor Knox.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Thank you very much for that. Just a couple of minor points, if I may. In Zone 4, it's not mentioned in the narrative and it's not shown in the graphic, but there is currently a waste bin there on the corner, but it's not shown on the page here. I hope we're not going to lose any waste bins. In fact, I would hope we would have as many as you can reasonably get in to prevent the overflows that we have at certain times of the year. I just leave that thought with you. And if I may, one other thing, I might as well have them both together. Would it be possible to have on each side of the swing bridge a big notice fitted at head height saying pedestrians keep left? That will tend to and help to keep pedestrians from bumping into each other. Right, so it will prevent it totally, but it will help. Thank you.
Councillor Goodbury.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to comment on the proposed aspect on Zone 1. You have acknowledged a need for a turning point on the east side of Whitby. If you take that roundabout away and there's ambulances, fire brigade or whatever, you restricted traffic, you're not going to get the flow back out of town. It backs up all the way to Bagdale now, and if you put a T-junction there, it's just going to exacerbate the situation even further. we're looking at second point, £2.1 million to put some planters in, put some new sets in of crossing points where we've already got them, a few more seats and a monkey puzzle. Has it ever occurred that maybe we need a bigger, wider, modern swing bridge that can cope with the demands of the town so that the tradespeople aren't suffering? I'm sure there's enough room either side to extend it by 2 meters either side. The number of breakdowns we get every year, restrictions. It's, people say, oh, we love our bridge. It's a nice bridge. But it's not fit for purpose anymore, in my opinion. Thank you.
Do you want me to deal with these? Yeah, sorry. Councillor Knock. We're not looking to lose any bins. I can talk to our refuse people and see whether they want to put some on, because we will be buying bins if this scheme goes ahead, because we want to make them all the same. The other issue with that Zone 4 is the telephone kiosk, and when we saw this picture, we just said, have you spoken to British Telecom about how much that's going to cost to move a telephone kiosk as well? So, So we're not looking to reduce the numbers of any bins or benches or anything like that. Keep left signs on the bridge. It was tried very, very poorly during COVID, with some little A4 signs that colleagues put up. I'll talk again to our traffic people, but I've got concerns about trying to force people to cross the road and then wanting them to cross back again. When there is a lot of people around, hopefully the bridge will be shut, so they've got the full width of the bridge to use. But when we spoke about it last time, our traffic people didn't want those signs to go up. But we thought with COVID it can only help, and during those times we were scrabbling around trying to do anything that would help. But I'll ask them again, but I don't see it as a workable solution. But it's not discounted. We'll look at it again. Traffic backing up includes the roundabout. Part of the consultation, fire and ambulance will have sight of these, and we can get their comments from them as well. Our traffic engineers don't tell us that we're going to cause a major gridlock or increase the chance of major gridlock. And again, there is the other roundabout up near the Co-op car park entrance if people wanted to do a proper U-turn. But again, we will get comments from those agencies. The bigger swing bridge. Yes, this has been raised fairly frequently, and when I spoke to the previous bridge engineer, who's no longer here, we've got a new one, Phil Richardson, he was talking a big number, maybe 10 times what we've got to do this particular piece of work. I think from memory he said, well, if we wanted to do that, we've got to make some major civil engineering alterations at either side of the bridge. He thought the bridge might be out of action for 18 months whilst the new one was built. It's a massive undertaking and a massive bill, and looking at the congestion that bridge causes at the moment, I just don't believe, this is what he said last time, it just wasn't stacking up as in the old cost benefit analysis. But yeah, she's an old lady, and it will have to go sometime, but that's not certainly within the medium or possibly long term.
Councillor Coghlan?
Yes, thank you. The bridge is very dangerous. I mean, I've been a resident in Whitby for the last 62 years, and I wouldn't even dream of going into town God's weekends and bank holidays and something like that. Because I never get parked, and because if I wanted to walk across the bridge, it is so dangerous. It used to be that the people who operated the gates could close the gates. They don't do that seemingly anymore. Is that because they're threatened by members of the public? Children, and I certainly wouldn't walk a child or a dog across the bridge. There were incidents Goth weekend, I was told that a man vaulted over a buggy, frightened the child half to death. Dogs were barking and screaming because they'd been trodden on. People seem to have no idea about how dangerous it is. The bridge is being
closed, I believe they're going to take the tarmac off the bridge
Yes,
and resurface it.
Yes.
That's because the tarmac weighs so much that they're going to take it off and resurface it to lighten the load of the bridge. I mean, our road's loaded with brass bell on the bridge, so when it's carrying too much weight, the bell rings. It's doing that. Extremely dangerous. I think the idea of having a monkey puzzle tree is daft. I don't think the monkey puzzle would survive in that salt air. And you can bet you would, some nice person would chop it down, chop the wood off it.
Yes.
But I think the last point, the phone box is iconic. Please, can we keep the phone box?
Brilliant. I mean, things like that we aren't aware of. I mean, the plans we had just showed it moving to one side. So if that's something that people want to see retained, that's easy.
Yeah.
We can do that.
Yeah.
The bridge, I mean, coming back to the comment that was made earlier about particularly Goth Weekend and the number of people that want to get into Whitby, and in most towns the limiting factor is usually the parking. We are getting calls for, every so often we get calls, we want more parking. And I just think that Whitby, my personal view, is not backed up by anything that any North Yorkshire Council subscribes to. I think the current parking is a good limiter of the numbers that come in, but I think all the abandoned vehicles that we had on Goth Weekend just shows that was, we need to do something. Now, I don't know whether we can, the genie's out the bottle really, isn't it, with Goth Weekend and Halloween. It's not something we can not tell people about, but we as a group, fire, police, ambulance, North York Moors, all that, we need to look at that to see how better we can do it. Because the pictures I've seen of the swing bridge and the videos I've been sent, and you don't need to think too hard to think if someone a little infirm on their feet went over, we could have had a very nasty disaster on our hands. But
Councillor Jones?
Thank you. Sorry, was that the back on zone 6? Just a small comment about the timing of construction and reconstruction. It's obviously, we know what kind of delay can be caused by construction efforts of that part I'm sure you're aware. Just to make sure that when it happens it isn't quite as soon as possible in November, February time, and not when it's going to be causing an awful lot of trouble. The main point I wanted to make is about Zone 1 and the removal of the roundabout, which I found very shocking when I was reading it. I appreciate the intention behind this is probably A, to create more pedestrian space on the War Memorial side, and B, because most of the traffic probably actually heads down Langall Road anyway. I would have said, however, A, the War Memorial is probably the one part in any of these zones where you don't need more public space. You definitely need it in Zone 3, particularly from up the bridge. Zone 2, absolutely. Even on the other side of the road on Zone 1, you get the congestion there, but that War Memorial is a big open space. And what I think you do need is something that's going to slow cars down if you come to that area. You've got one single road that can come in at speed. And in terms of congestion, the only time I've ever seen congestion in that part of town is when cars are backed up from the bridge. So it's the plan that I see with all of this and with the reconstruction of the swing bridge at the moment is to reduce the number of cars going over the bridge, which I think is right. Reducing car usage in that part of town is correct. That might not necessarily be a problem in the long run anyway. It is just, if I may more widely know, necessarily to you, it is interesting that the Zone 1 and Zone 2 projects do seem to mirror the description we were given by SBC councillors when we were told about Project Sunshine funds and where they could be spent. We were told about developments on War Memorial sites and near the Swing Bridge, and it seems that this seems to become that where we're needing Project Sunshine to spend elsewhere. That's just interesting. It's not really anything for yourself.
I don't believe it's connected. There's not a lot we can do with highways, so maybe that's it. And I thought the Project Sunshine was actually round on what was the Scarborough piece of land, round the War Memorial, which we've left alone. We just do with the highway. But
so, in regard to, I don't know who gave you that advice about not proceeding. Was it planning?
I can't remember who it was, to be honest, but it did come from someone in the new authority.
Well,
although to be fair, that was before vesting day.
Right. So, I mean, I would say that the neighbourhood plan obviously has to go through that process, so you're going to have to go through a town vote to get a vote on whatever you're suggesting. It's going to have to go to the planning inspector. It'll go to the planning committee, the area planning committee to make a decision. So that it'll go through those steps. So I can't see why you couldn't proceed with your neighbourhood plan.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Hinckley.
Councillor Jordan, could you tell me about the new toilets and the plan to the fencing that suddenly appeared on the promenade, just past the cliff lip? And then there's a notice, North Yorkshire Council, new toilets.
When was that?
Like last week, Friday.
New toilet?
New toilets, it said, yeah. And there's a digger there and other plants.
Well, when I go down on Thursday, I'll have a look.
Maybe. I think that's one for Michael King.
Yeah.
Your toilets is your department.
Chair, when I was aware, the town council hasn't, the existing beach toilets are a facility that's North Yorkshire Council. Whether they're being re-provided, but we've not heard.
It's about 200 metres from the beach, cafe, towards Upgan.
Is it,
it's where the
towards Upgan?
It's where the turnaround is, below the
okay.
was.
Right. Well, I'll have a look on that.
If you could feed that back, it'd be very useful. Councillor Barnett.
Yeah, sitting there confused. That won't surprise a lot of you here. I'm just wondering how this planning fits into the fact that we've got such a rapidly changing demographic and all the things that feed into it. We've got closing schools, we've got housing stuff that we're supposed to be looking after. Who are we building these houses for? It's certainly not going to be for young people, because they go, because there are no jobs. You see, so somebody's got to put all this together and think about the future. I don't mean the future next year or the year after. I mean 10 or 50 years time. Well, in fact, towns like this, up and down the country, will, not have young people about. They will be like Whitby has become, right? This vastly changing demographic is powerful. It's very powerful in terms of change. And we need a local council and councillors that have the vision to deal with it. And I don't detect them.
Well, thank you for that point.
I'm not sure the answer will be correct. Councillor Rickles first.
Just going on from what was said about housing, you mentioned council housing and affordable housing, but I think it's about time North Yorkshire realised that there isn't such a thing as affordable housing in Whitby, because people cannot afford the prices. When our average wage is something like 19,500, we would be lucky to be struggling to get a mortgage for a £100,000 house. All the affordable housings are 350,000, 400,000. What Whitby needs is council, social housing, full stop. And you've got to, the council has got to say to these big builders, that is all you're going to be allowed to build. Because you carry on, and we'll get all along to housing, more of it going to holiday lets, and it gets worse and worse, more people move away. We've got to have social housing. You, Princess Gardens, what's happening? Because I did ask you a few questions about the back, fencing falling in, trees falling down. Well, there's some more trees falling down now. There's one particular branch that is just hanging on, and if someone walks under it and it falls, it's could quite easily kill them. And I'm not joking, I was down there yesterday, and I'll show you a photograph of it later. What is happening with the plan for the play park as well? How are we getting on with all that?
Yeah, well, we've got a meeting in a couple of weeks. Hopefully, we've got a meeting in a couple of weeks with the residents, or the people who representative of the residents, and another organisation who hopefully will work on their behalf to kind of take the funding and then crack on with the works. We've got a price for all the kind of playground apparatus that was requested. And again, we'll discuss that with the residents, or the representative of the resident, hopefully in a couple of weeks when we meet them. So that's where we are at the moment. So it is going along. I also think as well, I'd like to bring the town council into that meeting, because if you have the central park, it's probably an important aspect that you understand what's going on as well with it. So I mean, that's the open invite now to the town clerk, if you'd like to come along, and a representative from the town council who sits on the associated committee. So we are progressing with it. In regards to, I was down there the other day myself actually, the new fencing has been put up around the back. I think anything on a private land is difficult to rectify. But again, the parks officer will get notified and we can go and speak to them and see what we can do. But yeah, that's where we are at the moment.
But we have got trees blocking the back now. They're falling in. And there's a frozen street now, which I told you about.
So the officers are, like I say, the parks team are down there on a regular basis. They'll be looking at it. So if there's an issue, they'll probably rectify it.
Housing at my Stainsacre, it's gone quiet. There was a consultation about what we call Poo Corner, the smell coming from the sewage works, which was meant to have been sorted out, and the fact that they weren't allowed to build any more than 50 houses until they sorted it out. Well, it's not sorted out. There's people complaining about the smell coming from the sewage works. So can you please investigate and make sure they don't build any more houses until it's sorted out, as per their agreement, which they know about?
Well,
can you do anything about that?
I mean, not council phonics, you know.
Well, you're just getting it now.
So I mean, it's obviously a planning, because of the planning condition.
Everyone was going to sort it out, and that's the reason that was about his last thing he said he was going to do. But there's a thing on there that they cannot build any more houses until they've sorted it.
There's a condition on the planning?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll take a look at that. We can't show council phonics.
And finally, can I just read this from our last meeting, from when there was a concern about you were going to, you and both councillors were going to, well, I'll read it. There was no mention of Whitby or Scarborough harbours in the harbour strategy regarding economic growth. This has been pointed out, and there will be a visit to both harbours on 20th of September 23. Both councillors, Twumper and Swansea, have been invited to attend. Did you go? News from that?
I'll come back to Poo Corner in a minute, Councillor Rutherford, but just on that minute, I have to say I was a little bit concerned by that minute. I think it was slightly inaccurate. I think it was a reference that I made to the economic growth strategy, and said that there was no reference to harbours within, Scarborough and Whitby harbours within that growth strategy as being part of the infrastructure assets for North Yorkshire. And I think that out of that came a discussion at the Local Government Reorganisation Committee to follow up questions by visiting the two harbours, and that visit did take place. An entirely separate thing, as far as I'm aware, is the harbours strategy, which is just started. There's been a meeting of the harbour users just before the summer, and the plan is to develop a strategy for the harbour and uses of the harbour going on into the future. So I think those two were slightly conflated in the minutes, but I think
reading what it said that as well.
yeah, well, I'm sorry, I wasn't in a position to contest the minutes because I'm not a member of your council, but other people can do that. Could I just I'll answer the question about the smell from the sewage works. I agree with you, it's entirely unsatisfactory, the whole situation. The building of that estate is on what used to be water board land, and is in fact a subsidiary of Yorkshire Water. It's their land and they benefit from it. When it came to the statutory bodies to comment on the planning application originally, then the planners went to Yorkshire Water to comment. So Yorkshire Water were sort of judge and jury on their own development, which seemed highly unsatisfactory and was going to cause problems later on. By the time we get to the development that's taken place by Stonecross development at the back, I attended a presentation on that, and the same question was asked. The smell is still there, and they said the work has been done. We are feel assured that money has been spent, they have met the condition, and the work has been done. But everybody
about whether we could do something else to try and maybe put a bit of chicane to slow people down. That might be an option. Construction period, that's what I was trying to read. Yeah, construction period. What we have said, we would do Sticklebridge Junction before we did the work in the town centre. So people who either are restricted because of the roadworks around the bridge, or when we need to close that road, have got a better, more managed route out. And yes, we are definitely going to steer away from the busier times. Just means that if you're working in the middle of winter construction, it's a shorter day and it just drags on a little bit longer, but that's a cross we're willing to bear, because working in the centre on a nice August morning would just be chaos.
Councillor Ribbles? You mentioned parking. I mean, we are just overrun with cars. You need another parking line on the west side, and considerably larger. Because we're parking on Tucker's Field, which is meant to be green space, which isn't actually fit for parking, as last weekend shows. When you talk about consultations, are we going to be given 5 options, all of which are your answers, or are we going to actually be allowed to say what we want? Because the last consultation was ridiculous, because the people with you couldn't say what they wanted because it wasn't on one of the 5 boxes. And I was doing my last one. What is the time span of having the swing bridge open to traffic? Is it going to be? Is it literally going to be pedestrian only all the time? Or are we going like we have now? And if it is something similar to like we have now, how the hell are we going to signpost it? Because there's bloody boxes we have all around town telling you when you can come, when you can't. You can't carry on having no and absolutely.
Dealing with the last point, we will be having the traffic regulation order consultation running separately, but at the moment it will be as we've had up to now. It just will be very roughly weekends as we get into the summer period, and perhaps all the 7 days a week during the school holidays. Try and keep an eye on weather, but it will be not a day-by-day decision, but it will be very similar to what we've done for the past year or so.
As in temporary signs?
Oh no, the signing is going to be replaced with more permanent signs, again with a variable message. Try and get them further out into town, make the message a lot clearer and simpler to read. The problem we've got at the moment with that is that there are so many different time restrictions in that area, with Upper Church Street, St Anne's Day, Baxter Gate. To try and get the sign in a legal format that people could be prosecuted if they transgress it's massive. So we're just working on, we might want to harmonise all the restrictions just into one time period, but that's another bit of work separate to this. I didn't want that to clog down the public realm bit. Options, no, we've purposely not, at this moment in time, we've purposely not given a range of options. The idea here is to put some thoughts down on paper and just hope that gets people talking and getting back to us through the consultation to say what they'd like. Once we've gone through that first consultation phase, we will start drawing up more what I could keep calling the engineering drawings, where it's a lot more obvious what is going to happen, and then we might have some options, just depending on what the feedback is from the consultation.
The problem with that, with all consultations, is that you come out with a positive result for you. There should be one box that says, don't like it.
Yeah.
So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, don't like it.
Yeah, the questionnaire that comes with this, there is a free text box at the bottom, and people can write.
No, on each question.
Well, each question, I haven't had sight of the latest draft, so I don't know whether there's yes, no, indifferent or not. I think we'll stick a line through it. I mean, there is a free text box at the bottom. We're not looking to manufacture this so it comes up with a solution that we've got, that we want to see happen.
Do you want to bet?
I would bet, yeah, because like I said before, I'm not wedded to any of this.
It will be the first one that North Yorkshire's ever done then.
No, but we've been given a sum of money by the Town Deal Board to enhance this area, and if we can enhance it, then that is what I would like to do. But if the overwhelming is no, I want black tarmac, I want it where it is, I want tarmac footpaths, then we're doing a consultation, we'll have to listen to that.
Okay. Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Riddle has really alluded to what I wanted to raise, which was the consultation. I have very personal opinions on this, but I don't think mine are as important as the residents of the town. And I really would hope that we can ensure that the residents get a good, solid consultation document coming to them. You did already allude to the fact that you were hoping most of it would go through the website, Richard, but there are people who do not use online. And I think about everything else that's going on with the Town Deal project, it is so important that the residents of this town have a thorough consultation and thorough input, because this will change the town forever. So it's got to be what the residents of this town want. Consultation can spread far and wide. We can all get the numbers we need if we spread that consultation far enough. But it really, on this one, if nothing else, it needs to be residents who will give you the feedback on this one. So you're saying that you're hoping it will go through the website. What other formats is the consultation going to come out in, and where will it be available? How easily accessible will it be to all residents in this town?
I'll have to check with Helen, who's leading on that, but I understand there will be a leaflet dropped onto a number of premises, but I just don't know how big that's going to be. We've got the public consultation days. We're going to have some signing up, trying to advise people of what's happening. Phone numbers for them to phone if they can't use the website. There'll be a phone number. Even the old write us a letter, that sort of thing. So we will be trying to get out to everybody, but we won't be going around knocking on everybody's door asking them that sort of thing. But it's just we want it.
As long as it's
really
accessible, and not just.
And like I've stressed, I'm not trying to sell something that I want to see happen, and I'll massage the consultation to suit what I want. I'm quite happy to go with what the consultation leads us towards. Like I say, I'm not wedded to any part of this, and I just want to see what the residents of Whitby want to see for their town. It won't all be the same thing that everybody wants, and we may have to try and juggle and work out, but it's something that we will try and get through.
Thank you.
Councillor Wilde.
Thank you. Well, I've got far too many comments to compare with the with. I've got many comments, and I will be taking full part in the consultation.
Could you speak up?
Yes, I'm going to be. And in fact, I found myself agreeing with Councillor Riddle.
And
On what he just said, I mean, I absolutely agree with what he said. I agree with what Councillor Turner said. And having lived with this scheme since 2020, in its trial stage, and it's just been an absolute mess. The style of the temple is dirty old baths, dirty old barriers all across the town. The turning circle, you just said the cellars are hollow almost with a smidgen of tarmac on top. And yet, HGV vehicles have got hundreds of photos of them are plowing through that every day. And you've known about that for the last 3 years, you have. And that is causing a problem. It's not only causing a problem to the museum, it's causing a problem to us people who live on the east side. Let's talk about when the bridge is closed and we have to access the 171, A171. We're absolutely trapped. And there's absolutely been no consideration for the residents in Whitby over this time. The consultation failed when you had it originally. People were not for it. And we're still going ahead. And as a member of the Town Deal Board, I did vote against this scheme. I just want people in this room to know that we could see that this scheme was just going to be a big red herring. It's just caused trouble, it's caused stress, and we're absolutely fed up a bit on this side. We're now looking at some sort of plastic whaleboard coming off of Great Lane into Tingo Car Park. It may actually not be plastic, but what that's X. That we don't, what do we need? Why do we need it? Why are we having trees everywhere? This is a harbour town. This is a traditional seafaring town. You don't just plant trees. And when you're thinking about putting that monkey puzzle tree, is that going to be an actual thing, or is it going to be planted in the pavement? That is a very, very busy corner there. It's absolutely one of the busiest corners on the east side. It's ill thought. And he talked about removing the roundabout. Once that roundabout's gone in front of Tension, it's gone. This scheme, the whole scheme is ridiculous. I noticed that you're talking about putting 2 benches next to the swing bridge overlooking the harbour. That is one of the busiest thoroughfares in Whitby, but it's on the plan. I just find the whole thing unbelievable. And what you're doing to Whitby is unforgivable. It is unforgivable. And that is my view. But I've got a lot more to say, far more constructively than I've just said that. But I will be saying it. Thank you.
I mean, yeah, if that view is echoed, that we should do nothing, then we would have to take that on board very seriously. Personally, I think it's a shame we're losing a lot of money to make the place look nicer, but especially the town council, if that's the town council's view that they don't want us to progress with the scheme, then let's make that known and we will respond.
That's my view.
Sorry, excuse me. You sound as if you're threatening us.
I'm not. No.
You don't want us to spend money on the big. We won't spend money.
Sorry.
You sound malevolent.
No. If I could, please. Yeah. I was being accused of trying to railroad something through earlier. I think the words were, what you want is going to be seen out here. All I'm trying to say is this is really an open consultation, and I was only trying to demonstrate that if a body like the town council doesn't want this to happen, that is quite a strong voice.
It's not just the town council, it's the town.
No, sorry. I meant that the town council, as a representative body, if the town council are against it, that carries a lot more weight, say, than one other person. But we will listen to what people want, or they don't want, in the consultation. And, as I've just said, it wasn't a threat, I'm just pointing out that if there is overwhelming objection against what we are proposing, then I can't say it will or it won't for certain, but chances are we would have to take that view on board very strongly. Now, whether that means... Well, the money has been given to us by the Whitby Town Deal Board for this specific project. So it's not mine to move on to I think someone else meant, not this meeting, other meeting, don't resurface that road up there because that's full of potholes. And this funding was given from the Town Deal Board for this specific project, and it's not my gift to move it around. But I genuinely wanted to hear what the consultees had to say, and I'm definitely not trying to railroad anything in. I would love to see the area improved, but improved is, one man's improvement is another man's detriment, but that's not the best saying in the world. But no, I apologise if I came across as threatening.
I think we understand what you're saying. The Town Council will have the opportunity to submit a formal response to the consultation, and obviously, as what you heard from here, individuals will be able to submit their own consultation. I think then, I'd like to speak just to one question. We've spent a lot of time on this. It's been very informative. The consultation hasn't started. We will be able to make a formal consultation. I think I'd like to draw it to a close now because we've got other items on the agenda. Thank you very much for your time.
No, pleasure.
If you can ensure that we know when the public consultation is taking place, and obviously we can ensure that the town is able to publicise it by the Whitby Town Council side as well as obviously the other means.
Yeah. I'll get the lady working on it, Helen, to make sure Michael's fully up to speed of what's happening on Wales.
But thank you very much.
No, pleasure. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Moving on, item 5, external reports. To receive reports on behalf of external bodies which are present. North Yorkshire Police.
I'm sorry, I can't hear very well because there's quite a lot of noise. I'm looking at already.
Right, so yes.
Another request.
Could I just again ask members of the public to refrain from speaking? We may not be aware, whispering down there is carrying up here quite loudly. So if you could just listen and then if you want to have conversations after the meeting, or if you desperately want to talk, then please leave the meeting to do so. Thank you.
We're just trying to shut these doors, these two doors.
Yes, sir. Go into it, right? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good evening, councillors. Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everybody. I've done the figures slightly differently this time around. I know previously they've been asked for different ward areas and stuff like that, so I've had a look at our system and see what I could pull off. These are split between Central and West Cliff. They're the two wards that I've pulled off. To give you an idea of the areas, I'll give you a comparison compared to this month last year, given the seasonal variations. I think that was the best way to go about it. And also I'll give you an insight into how we divide our times and what our times divided. So, in 2023, for the month of October, the West Cliff, there was a total of 145 reports. Of these, 14 were crime, ASB there was 11, roads offences was 15, and other there was 78. So that's things like concerns for safety, missing person reports, admin occurrences, that sort of thing. So to give you an idea, in terms of overall, it's 33 down on last year, 21 down on crime, 4 down on ASB, and 5 up on roads policing. The Central, we had 130 reports in October 2023, that's 4 less than the previous year. Of those, 39 were crime related, that's up 2. ASB, there was 11 reports, that's also up 2. And roads policing wise, there was 10 reports, which is square even with the previous year, and 70 other. Just to, I know Katie Butler, Police Force, provided you with more in-depth report, which I won't go into at the time. However, if you may look at that and think that the reports and does not reflect what's in there, just to give you a bit of context regarding crime recording, if, say, there was a fight in a pub and one person said, that person assaulted me, the other person said, that person assaulted me, so it's 2 crimes recorded. So for every item that you've got a bit of detail about there may be more than 1 crime. So that explains that, if you were wondering that question. Moving on, obviously Gothwick has spoken about a lot. I'm pleased to say that in terms of policing incidents like that and crime and the like, it pretty much passed without incident. There was a lot of concerns around parking and the amount of people and congestion of public. particularly around the Swing Bridge. I was on duty, we were on about medical tears because the amount of people, it was incredibly well tended. We did receive a number of a spiking reports around the Swing Bridge at a particular time. We've gone back and reviewed when those spiking calls came to us, and looked at the CCTV and other things, and when we reviewed it, we've seen that the bridge has actually been shut at that time, which has caused a backlog of people, and then obviously they've gone across the bridge, which has caused the most severe of the congestion that was present. Obviously there's a lot of factors with that. There's high tide, and the bridge only opens at particular boats at particular tides. I know it was mentioned about turning buses around. No, we don't have the power to do that. We can't stop people coming. I think it's left now, but I concur with my colleague from the council. Goth Weekend is a big event now, and it will continue to be a big event no matter what we're in. It will be well attended. There's a number of other factors. I know there's a picture going around on social media of a bus station in Leeds where the queue was around the corner. Obviously there's a £2 bus fare scheme from the central government. I don't know that'll be around next year. But the only reason I bring that up is we have raised that to the committee which my colleague mentioned. So next year there should be some fairly realistic and achievable measures we can put in place. Well, it's more highways and council remit for that, but there should be some realistic, achievable sort of measures that could be put in place to sort of prevent that from happening again, or prevent the worst of the congestion happening again. So to reassure you about that. The next thing I want to talk about was community maps. I haven't been on one yet, but I've been on 102 and the price has been very well received. If you're not aware of it, it is basically where you can log on and once a fortnight talk about issues regarding any sort of issue around the town, things like ASB, any sort of bits of vandalism. Get us involved, that will then directly influence where we've got our patrols and stuff like that. So it really is a good scheme. If you're not involved, please do sign up and show. The thing will give you an invite, or organise an invite so you can attend that. And the next thing I want to talk about, or final thing I want to talk about, was we will be doing a roads policing enforcement event on Langbourne Road and around the town, basically around car cruising and gathering of cars. This will be part enforcement through the Public Space Protection Order, also the powers we have under the Traffic Act, for example, but also there will be an educational element to it. So we've got people from our Road Safety Partnership who are bringing down tyres and things which have defaults in, just to educate people on types of defects and hopefully improve road safety. We have as a force identified a particular age group of young drivers associated with particular risk. We have a scheme, it's a national police scheme, it's basically if you drive a vehicle in an antisocial manner, you can give it a section 59 notice. Everybody under a certain age has received one of those notices in the Whitby area, has also had a follow-up letter now, just to remind them as the weather conditions start to get a bit worse, as the nights get darker, as it becomes a bit more dangerous on the roads. So we are enforcing, but we're also trying to educate and do some preventative action and hopefully avoid any incidences on the road. That was it for the report, unless you've got any questions.
Any questions? Councillor Coughlin.
How many police officers were on duty over the Goth Weekend, and how many officers are on duty in town on a normal weekend, or on a normal day?
So there was me, for my trip was Liz PC and PCSO. I believe we were on days, so we would only work till sort of mid-afternoon. The neighbourhood policing team. There was a response policing team. I don't know how many were on. Usually there should be around, on average now there's about 3, but it can be less, it can be more. In answer to your question, I'm preempting here, but I believe that there was no additional police resources. Like I said, most of the issues that we've got reported, we wouldn't have had a lead agency on, so it was things like highways, that kind of thing. It was a lot of footfall, a lot of congestion. I'll just make a point, I know, sorry, is that answer your question?
Yes.
I know people mentioned a lot about abandoned cars and stuff like that. Obviously, if you go around town, walking around, there was a lot of cars on the Leo lines, but the majority of these, from my anecdotal opinion, on their blue badges. So I don't think they were abandoned within the provision that's already there for them.
Councillor Wilde.
I was just say that the mapping meetings are just fantastic. I think everybody should come because you can flag up so many things that are happening in Whitby, and you can be sure that there's going to be action. So I think it's a really good thing. And I think on the last mapping meeting, told us there were 80 tickets given out over the last weekend, which sounds like a lot, but it's not compared to how many people came, I don't think.
Is that car parking tickets?
Yes, that's what we were told on the mapping.
So, yeah, no, I totally agree. The mapping is brilliant. If you're not involved, please do get involved. That isn't what we wouldn't give out car parking tickets, it's obviously fine. But it is that multi-agency and stuff like that. And again, I think Goth Weekend and in particular football congestion was brought up at that meeting already. And then from that, we've been able to go back, look and say, oh, what's going on? We've had a spike at this point. Have a look at the swing bridge was closed, what's been built up, and then you have that congestion. So we've then passed that on to our colleagues at the council. There will be that meeting, so hopefully next year. But again, your participation in that meeting and getting your opinions across the helps us do that. So again, hopefully next year that shouldn't be a problem. But yeah, it just gives us a example of that meeting there.
Any other questions? No, we've got, well, thank you very much. Could I have a vote to receive Councillor Goodwin, Councillor Coughlin, all those in favour? Thank you. And now external reports from North Yorkshire Council. Gentlemen, who's going to speak first? Councillor Swanley, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I have to give a brief report. I know it's been a busy agenda so far, and we've got a lot more on today, so I'll keep my comments to a minimum. I'll just talk about 4 topics, if I may, and then I'll answer a question that was notified to me by one of the councillors, and I'll answer that as best I can. The first one is that, obviously, it's quite a while since you last had a full council meeting, and it's going back a little while, but I think it's worth noting that the first of the Scarborough and Whitby area constituency committees took place on the 22nd of September in Whitby, and that was a bit of a first, certainly for a number of years. This is the body, you remember, which is part of the sort of supposedly devolved structure of North Yorkshire Council going on into the future. It's the opportunity where all the councillors, elected councillors to North Yorkshire Council meet for the particular constituency area, in this case Scarborough and Whitby, and also the MP sometimes attends, and it's the opportunity also for residents to ask questions. This event took place on this occasion on the 26th of September in the Colosseum. It wasn't entirely perfect in terms of the venue because there was a lack of hearing loop for those people who needed it, and I think there's going to be an attempt to find a better venue in the future, but I know we have difficulties with venues in Whitby, and I think this is maybe an opportunity that we could look at pushing the town council to actually create somewhere which could be an easy option for large committee meetings and so on to take place like that. The meeting was well attended. There were 10 people who wanted to submit questions, public questions, and they all have to be notified before the meeting. I think the allowance would normally be half an hour for all of them, but I did manage to get a vote passed to hear all those points, and I thought that was reasonable considering we hadn't had one of these meetings in Whitby before. And so 10 individuals made their points or asked questions. I think what was disappointing was that there is the opportunity for officers to answer, and in these cases, of course, the questions have been pre-notified, so the officers have had the opportunity, one hopes, to actually prepare an answer and send it in, and then another of the officers kind of reads it out. That didn't seem to work very well, to be frank, and there were a couple where there was no answer and people were disappointed, and they should have got they should have had an answer. And Of course, then there was the opportunity to hear from the elected MP and also to ask questions. And I took the opportunity to ask Sir Robert Goodwill about progress on the housing lets issue, because a lot of us took part in a consultation for the Department of Levelling Up Communities and Local Government in June, and there's nothing to be found on any website about progress on that. And I thought that, seeing as he knew that this was a big issue in his constituency, he might be able to tell us more. And his answer to me was, well, that it seemed likely that there would be something in the King's speech. Well, I've examined the King's speech today, and there is nothing about short-term lets and the problems that causes for a number of areas. So that is a little bit disappointing. I hope that things will still move forward. Second thing I just wanted to mention very briefly is, and it has been alluded to in one of the questions to Richard Marr, and that was the Spring Bridge closure. And I think people should try and make as many people aware of that as possible. It is the 20th of November for 2 weeks, hopefully. It has been put back into the wintry weather where the days are shorter and the weather is more unpredictable. So it is hoped that it will all be contained within 2 weeks. But there was a lot of pressure from businesses and so on not to have it in October, and so it is now happening on the 20th of November. And that will mean that there is no way across the bridge, either for pedestrians or people in vehicles, for those 2 weeks. There will be a shuttle service, I understand, running people around the long way, and the harbour master has expressed his intention to provide a ferry service across the harbour for those that want to ride across the harbour. Two things that have come from North Yorkshire in terms of strategies, and I have to say that North Yorkshire seems absolutely flowing with strategies at the moment and reviews of one sort or another, because obviously it's a new council and it needs to establish its priorities, its policies. But two that are important. One is a housing strategy, and that is currently under consultation. And you go onto the North Yorkshire Council website, consultations, and then there's a list of consultations, and it says start here, and you go in and you've got a number of questions you can answer. I would suggest that you do take part in that. It has some very interesting things on it, as I think I've mentioned previously in public, such as the intention to build more council houses, which is maybe something that one wouldn't expect. But North Yorkshire Council does have a large housing stock, because that is its historic legacy from district councils like Selby, and it wants to build more and improve the stock. Have a look on that, and please do take part. I was disappointed again that there was no mention on short-term lets and the problems that is causing areas like ours, because that would seem to be pretty much a priority. And whilst all of the areas that were assessed as the ones that are going to be the focus of that strategy are important, things like decarbonisation and affordable housing and so on. Nonetheless, for us here in Whitby, I think one of the key issues is undoubtedly the fact that the short-term lets are making it difficult for residents to find houses to buy or to rent, and it's creating all sorts of knock-on effects like parking and so on, which we've discussed just previously and many times before. So have your say on that. And also at the same time there is a consultation on the development of a local plan for North Yorkshire. Now that, as you know, is a sort of planning project. It actually defines the priorities across the county, as it will do now. It incorporates all the previous districts, but it doesn't incorporate their original local plans. It's a new local plan. And it will, at the end of the day, have allocations for land for different uses. So things like housing and so on, it's no good saying at the end of the day, well, we didn't know there was going to be any more new housing built in with it. Have your say about what you want to happen and how on the local plan. And there was a discussion, a question earlier on the question of the neighbourhood plan. Well, the original idea, under a previous government, mind you, was that it would be all these plans would interlock like Russian dolls, so that you had a very local one, which would be the neighbourhood plan, talking about districts and areas, a local plan which would be sort of county-wide, and then there would be obviously national planning regulations overseeing the lot. So those are my 4 topics, but I do have a question, and I would encourage councillors, if they do want to ask a specific question which requires a bit of research to do this, and this is a question from Councillor Hinchliffe, who wrote, I think originally to Michael King, and Michael very kindly passed it on to me, and I passed it on to Highways officers, and that was in relation to the work that's going on Fairfield Way and Staines Acre Lane, pretty much opposite Sainsbury's, in connection with the new housing development there. I think anybody who drives that route regularly will be pretty annoyed that there's been hold-ups there now for several weeks, and the news is, I'm afraid, that it's going to go on till Christmas. Now, that's not ideal, but it was originally going to take place in the summer, but the contractors were told they can't do it in the summer, otherwise it will be absolute total chaos. And so they held it back, so now we're suffering as a result. But it is to install a new roundabout, which means that hopefully traffic movements from the new estate and all the new people living there will be easier. The works have got different phases to minimise the length of the works, and that's something that the highways officers have already insisted on. And they also want to insist on additional signs to ask the drivers to keep the junctions clear, because one of Councillor Hinchcliffe's concern was the sort of jamming up of that area with the 2 sets of lights, one outside Sainsbury's and then the workers, the lights regarding the works further along. And I understand that there's pressure being put on the contractors there to make sure that temporary lights are monitored and controlled to keep the Sainsbury's junction clear in case drivers block the drive. And that, I think, is important. There is actually somebody there rather than just leaving the lights on. My main complaint is very often that the work is not taking place at weekends and holidays and so on, but still they put these lighting things, and it's very frustrating for people to wait in the traffic seeing nothing's happening. And the other element is giving priority to traffic leaving Whitby at peak times, so that people can get home and get their kids from school and so on. So I will keep an eye on this, Councillor Hinchliffe, and I'm obviously happy to take any further questions about it.
And then Councillor Goodwin got a question, but can we ask Councillor Trumper to speak first, and then we can address questions to both councillors?
Good evening, councillors. Good evening, man. Yeah, there's a few. I'll keep it brief because I'm expecting quite a few questions. The first point I was going to highlight was the fact that Whitby Town Council, out of 10 councils that have applied for double devolution, have been picked to take it forward, and I think they've been picked to take part as a first step, which I think is quite good for the town, and I think it's great for the town council to take this on and take up some responsibility and make some decisions locally. So hopefully that's one of the first steps of many areas that you'll be able to take over for the town, on behalf of the town. Councillor Swanwick's already mentioned the housing strategy that's been launched. Again, it's quite an important strategy to get involved in. And like you might have pointed out that North Yorkshire Council does have quite a large portfolio of housing, and the ambition is to build more council housing and build more affordable housing. So it is quite an ambitious strategy. It's important that Whitby Town Council gets involved in that, considering the amount of issues we do have on housing in the town. And the question asked about the neighbourhood plan, I mean, I've talked about it extensively in the past, but I think the Hayley neighbourhood plan, it'd be great if the town council can push that forward as soon as possible, really. I know there's quite a few costs associated with that, but I think it would be a great benefit as well to get this through, get it past the goalpost firstly, and then get something forward so the town can have a say on it as well. Housing strategy, the Goth weekend, there wasn't a town that wasn't impacted, there wasn't quite any area of the town that wasn't impacted by Goth weekend, and I asked for the police a few times highlighting some parking issues, and I've spoken to officers regarding the issues, and I think the people that are alluded to something that could be put in place for the next golf weekend. I think it does need better management, and we need to start discussing again. The problem obviously is these one organiser of it, such as events that do take place. There's usually one organiser. The SAG team, they have to go through the SAG team to organise the event. With the golf weekend, that's completely different. So, but I think some things can be put in place to hopefully make it safer and prevent some of the incident that happened over the weekend. So I'll keep it brief, so I'll just wait for your questions.
Councillor Goodbury.
Thank you. Quite a few years ago, when Whitby Swing Bridge was closed down for an extended period, there was a public walkway attached to the bridge, so members of the public could get from east to west or west to east. Have there been any consideration for adopting a similar facility at all? Are we just waiting on people with their own boats, or?
Is that this closure claim?
Yes.
I don't know anything about that. I mean, I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember it. In the 80s, I believe it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it worked perfectly well.
Yeah, I mean, it was a long-way closure, if I remember rightly. But I don't think there's been any consideration on that, no, but I can find out. Yeah.
Councillor Coughlin.
Thank you. Maybe Road Junction, the light's not working properly. As you go up to Mayfield Road, up to the junction, you can't turn right unless you're taking your life in your hand. The traffic light in the middle isn't doing the bit where it lets you turn right, and it's been like this for 2 or 3 weeks. I don't know what's going on, but I went through there in the dark yesterday, and I ended up stuck in the middle of the junction, I and the car behind me. We had to wait until there was just no traffic coming towards us.
Is that when you're coming up Prospect Hill?
Yes.
Yeah, and you turn around to make it.
Yes.
Right, okay. I was driving in the opposite direction. I didn't notice a similar problem.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, we can bring that up to
Thank you.
the highway, definitely.
My main problem is the leisure centre in Whitby. It's run by everyone active, right? The periods when the showers have been too hot for small children, this was during the summer, locals knew not to put their kids in the shower first off till the water cooled down. Visitors didn't, and there were often children screaming because they'd gone in and the water was too hot for them. I spoke on several occasions to members of staff. In the end, I spoke to the manager, and I think he went and hid because he thought that I would go home, but I didn't. Anyway, locals know that the showers were too hot, the visitors didn't. During Storm Babette, there was water ingressing into the pump rooms, and one of the staff actually rang his mate, who was a roofer, to come and fill in the holes on the roof, which he did. The water was ingressing in, and it was hitting the electrics and so on. Now, everyone active does Redcar, Loftus, Whitby and Scarborough. All are absolutely fantastic. Now, Loftus is as old probably as ours is, but why is Whitby Leisure Centre so poor? They're not doing full repairs, they're not fixing pipes, and I've got this from members of staff who have been asked to do reports every week or every month as to what's going on. So why is Whitby's in such a poor condition when all the others are all very good? I mean, Scarborough's got a brand new leisure centre, which is fantastic. They don't seem to want to spend any money on Whitby, and I know the gym side of things, which I don't use, they're poor as well. I don't know if you or the councillor can help us, but if you can, I would be very grateful.
It's the best thing to do is to email me all those issues, and then I can pass them on to the council sport coordinator. Because it's a private organisation, everyone active, it is, obviously, I think it is kind of funded, there's some funding from the council that goes to it.
Yes.
So yeah, we could definitely highlight those issues.
You get the feeling that they're just waiting for things to sort of fall apart, and then it'll close down. I and many of us swim 3 times a week, 3 mornings a week. There's no way I'm going to drive to Scarborough to Loftus 3 times a week to go swimming. And there's a lot of us, there's about 68 on the Monday, Wednesday, Friday morning, the over 50s. And there's a lot of people who use the leisure centre, but it just seems to be falling into disrepair.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, I use it myself, I'm managing it there, on a regular basis. So yeah, I mean, the issues that you've highlighted are important to get rectified.
Thank you.
So, but you can email me.
Email us to it,
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Knott. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I understand that you now have in place, or you've identified a legal mechanism to prevent marking on the seawall and the promenade. Now, what is it, TRO or a PSPO?
Well, it would be a TRO, I believe. It's going through the process at the moment. I think, so we'll find out more. I think it will come to public consultation soon. And then obviously people can have to say on that.
Right. Are you still confident you can get it in place by Easter?
I'm not confident about anything really like that. No, I think hopefully it could be in place by Easter, but we'll have to wait and see basically. That's something that I would be pushing for, that would be in place by Easter.
Okay. Secondly, I understand that you are undertaking a review of the cliff lift.
Yeah, that's correct, yes.
So when
I think that started, it's probably starting now, but I was hoping to get some more information from the officer involved in that. But I'll chase that up and hopefully by January I'll have more information for you.
Okay, thank you. Another one, grass cutting. How many cuts have you had this year of field grass, and how many are you going to have next year?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
How many grass cuts have you done this year, and how many are you going to do next year? Because I suspect you've reduced the number of cuts by 2.
Grass cuts? I don't do any grass cutting. I don't know.
Well, somebody...
I think there's been issues with, obviously beyond housing. I think that the government came out with a new directive about grass cutting, which kind of, I can't remember, about birds breeding basically, which then prevented, I think, at a certain time of the year the grass being cut. I don't know the full kind of guidelines behind that, but it did reduce the grass cutting in the town, which obviously caused problems to residents. I received quite numerous complaints about the grass cutting. Beyond housing, obviously cut down their properties. With regards to North Yorkshire, I don't know the figures, but I can find out.
Well, it's beyond housing, you must be lending North Yorkshire equipment to do it then. However, is it possible to get some clearing done on the zigzags? Because at the moment a lot of the paths pretty much down to single file. So if you cleared that now, it would be much easier to give them a quick trim in March of next year. But many of those paths haven't been done this year at all.
On the zigzags?
Yeah.
Okay. I know there's a certain point that runs past the golf club that was quite bad earlier in the year. But I mean, I'll have a look, when I go down the dog on Thursday, I'll have a look.
Yeah, I agree. Much of that top path has been done, but if you look at the path below it, the one in the middle, if you like, that is very much overgrown.
But I'll have a look on Thursday when I'm out with the dog.
Okay, well, I'll see you up there.
Sorry.
Okay. With regard to the neighbourhood plan, we were given to understand some months ago that we would be unwise to proceed with the neighbourhood plan because NYC were putting together a local plan for the new county. Because we've had so much comment on it tonight, can you say that we are in order to proceed with the neighbourhood plan before we know what the local plan is?
Well, the local plan is going to take 5 years.
Yeah, I know. But are we in order to proceed with the local plan?
I think what we've got at the moment, you've got a local plan already in situ with the old district council. The Borough Council has a local plan.
Yeah.
Not all districts have local plans. I think out of the 7, I think there's maybe 3 that have local plans. Scarborough had a local plan, and it was obviously going through the process of updating that local plan. So in that respect, when through planning decisions, to do take into account the local plans that have already been published and produced, and so
signature to the residents.
Councillor, if we actually just altered this to say, applications could be submitted by different, some wording for that. Yes, by appropriate means, by other appropriate means.
Could we add to that, that in the written summary or the verbal presentation, that candidates for co-option declare any affiliation to bodies whose objective is to influence public opinion?
That's ultimately, Chair, that would be a matter for a declaration of interest and subsequent to. It wouldn't ever be something that would debar anybody.
Councillor Knock, I don't think we can do it at this stage, but it's, as the town clerk says, we'll look at it at the later stage. So we've got a proposed agenda, advertised the vacancy, timetable, so date the 29th, an extraordinary council meeting, possibly the 5th of December to follow, and based on this procedure. Do we have a proposer?
Why do we have to have those dates?
We don't, but we need it. It'd be best to get it filled before the new year, wouldn't it?
But if we haven't got anybody that wants to be there, I think.
If the vacancy is advertised and no one fills it, then we won't be having a council meeting because there won't be anyone.
Can't we
We're not
just
given the impression that there are thousands of people all clamouring to come onto the town council and they disappeared over the week.
Not me, I never said that at all.
I didn't say you, I just said
Sorry,
we were given the impression.
I apologise, Stephen.
If people don't want to advertise the vacancy 8th of November to 29th, when do they want to advertise the vacancy?
Couldn't we just put it on the network and the town council site that there is a vacancy?
But there has to be a closing date in case someone actually says, well, I didn't know I had to fill it in by this time. Councillor?
I believe that there's some of the places advertised and some of them if anyone has actually decided to join the council. So I would propose that we accept the dates down there and we move with whatever comes forward.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Goodbury. We have a proposal and seconded that we accept this timetable and we accept this procedure. All those in favour? Against? Abstain? Budget preparation timetable. To consider the timetable for approval of the budget for 24-25 and set basic budgeting parameters for consideration by committees in the next cycle.
Chair, just a couple of points to add to what's written there. I've had confirmation today of the tax base for next year, and that's come through from North Yorkshire Council, so paragraph 3.1, and the tax base for Whitby is reduced from a band the equivalent of 4,972.1 properties to 4,947.97 properties. That will mean that if there was a standstill budget, the band the equivalent council tax would go up by 28 pence. So that's just a reduction in the number of eligible properties. It's no doubt a reflection of the fact that there are fewer residential properties eligible to council tax. Even though new houses are being built, the number of houses coming out of housing stock and being used as second homes or registered as businesses is clearly affecting the tax base. Normally one would expect the tax base to increase, so it's quite unusual that it would decrease. But that's the figure on which we have to calculate our precept as a band the equivalent next year, and that will be taken into consideration in January. Other than that, the figures outlined in Appendix A, which were based on the informal information that the pay award for this year had been finalised, have now been confirmed and all the scales are confirmed. So the amount that was originally budgeted for this year was based on a 7.5% assumption. The actual pay award comes in slightly under that, so you'll see that's a reduction of 3.4% on this year's likely out. But if we estimate something similar for next year, that will actually deliver a 5.9% increase year on year. And again, as a planning assumption, that's probably where we need to go, but HR will need to consider the establishment at its next meeting before referring that to Finance Policy and General Purposes in December. Other than that, happy to take any questions on the assumptions based in there, but at this stage this is about setting parameters for the budget, and also it's important that if members have any issues that they want to bring forward either as growth items or as savings items, those can be proposed and then considered by Finance Policy and General Purposes in December and recommended to Council in January.
Any comments, questions?
So this is just the financial side of running the council. All I think is that really we've got North Yorkshire trying to devolve powers down to us, and I really do think that the whole council needs to sit down and discuss between ourselves where we want to go, because we have our committees, and I always thought that the committees were there so that not everybody had to sit on every committee, but they would report back to the council for the approval of everybody. So that's how I really think committees should work, because the full council should have a say in everything that happens on the council, especially of how we want to go forward. And I don't think that we give enough attention to that, because there's a lot of things that a lot of councillors don't know, and I think really that to a great extent all councillors should know everything really, so it could take a full part in council affairs.
I agree. I thought we were able to tell us the meeting.
Sorry.
I thought we could come and observe if we wanted to know more about any of the subjects, apart from possibly those dealing with competence and matters. So we can do that, in effect.
In what respect?
Any town councillor can go to any meeting as an observer, so you can find out whatever you want to know about what's going on in any of the different.
Yes, you can do that, but we spread everything out so that different committees do different things, and then come back and tell everyone what they've decided, and everyone can then say, yeah, that's a good idea, or have a thought of that, or, we can take it from there, because I think that's well.
We respect that's what we're saying here. The recommendation, basically here, and recommendation E, any proposals for new budget items to submit to FPGP in December. So if councils have got any issues that they wish the finance to actually discuss, they submit them to the finance. So if you've got any ideas about new budget items, either increasing or decreasing, then it should go to finance for consideration. But all this paper is at the moment is the timetable that we need to be adhering to.
So I propose that we receive the timetable, please.
Do we have a second there?
Yes.
Councillor Coughlin. All those in favour of receiving this timetable? Against? Councillor Whittle. Report from representatives on external bodies. Councillor Coughlin.
Friends of Hammett Park, I'm sure you're all aware of the damage that's been done in the park. Coping stones that have been smashed, and the person that did that, if it came over on top of them, would we be liable for the harm that comes to them, or can we just say, well, it's your own stupid fault? They've damaged steps, there's been damage around the lily pond. I believe we're getting 2 new cameras in the park to try and capture or stop these people from doing it. But it's just wanton vandalism. It's such a great shame.
Thank you. Councillor Hinchcliffe.
Can I just say that the cameras that are around the park itself, it's been nearly 20 years they've been promising better high-resolution cameras, can we actually depend on the fact that these two might come? These two extra cameras?
Chair, the point was raised at the MAPS meeting last week, and the police pressed North Yorkshire Council to take that forward, and there's been a strong suggestion that North Yorkshire will be doing that, and will be integrating it into their CCTV monitoring in a way that it isn't currently.
I just want to echo that, because I read in the minutes that North Yorkshire Council are now going to, like the clerk said, integrate 2 cameras into North Yorkshire, and so it's going to be more visual. And also at the MAPS meeting, the police were interested as well in maybe joining in with something.
Right, thank you. I'd like to give a quick report back on the group Effective World External Body looking at website design. There's a small group made smaller by the resignation of a councillor. We're at the position where we've received a number of quotes from various website designers, and we looked at companies that actually created websites for councils that we liked. We need to actually evaluate those quotes. And I think what the next step would need to be would be to identify a cost element that we can include into the budget for 24-25, so that if we do wish, council does wish to proceed with upgrading the website, it is a budgeted item.
Otherwise, I think, and that's something that we'll have to take up through the environmental health route.
I mean, surely though, if they don't do anything about it, then they're going to have to put it on the standards pack that there's a smell.
Well, of course,
Wouldn't that be a lead for the
difficult for you to market a property that does have a bad smell. That's certainly the case.
Thank you. And just one point about the meeting at the Coliseum. Unless it changes, people won't be bothered to go, because, as you say, all the answers were quick. And I mean, everyone who came away from there and said that's a load of rubbish, and they won't go. If the council want to get people to actually actively get, it's got to be something that's meaningful to the people.
Thank you. One last question from the Member of the House, who hasn't asked a question yet, and then we need to move on.
I just think we get to the both of you. First of all, I'd like to thank Councillor Williams for bringing the item for social housing. Bringing attention to this. Affordable housing, you can only have affordable housing if 25% of the private thing is used. So the council recently voted unanimously that we only have social housing for 10 years. Now I recently read on the website, it's great news by the way, that the European Authority is now looking at this and going to help us with social housing. And I recently read on the website there that all the town council for that motion are stupid, the town clerk's stupid, the motion and the second is stupid. So it's great news that the European Authority says we are stupid and it's good. But please don't use the mistake of the word affordable housing, because that means to get affordable housing, it's 25% of private estate. This is social housing, and I like to endorse what Councillor Williams has highlighted. It's social housing we need for 10 years. That's the wish of the council, unanimously. So thank you for that. And thank you for giving us the news about the social housing. That's fantastic.
Just to add quickly, Rob, there is a requirement to build 30% affordable housing on that site that we've been talking about on the same Lane and Broomfield Farm estate.
What the council can, we declare that we don't want any more private housing. This is a way to bring another private estate to Whitby. We don't want that. Affordable housing is a way for private construction, and it's not working. It's gridlock in the system. We've requested social housing, and I'd like it, this is you as well, Phil, if you would go to the European Authority, these are the wishes of Whitby people. We're a special case, and I don't think, and I want to attend to this, the economy of Whitby, and I just all the people spoke earlier, some brilliant speakers, I agree with them, but it was £1 million to Whitby, this thing. Whitby's a special case, and it's mainly low-paid work. Low-paid work keeps the economy going. The Jewel of the Crown from the East Coast, down in Lincolnshire, to the Scottish border, is being upheld by Whitby. And Whitby employs a lot of people that can't live in Whitby because they don't have any social housing. So please, don't come back and with respect and say, oh, we have some affordable housing. We don't want any affordable housing because it's a myth and it's a weakening for private building. Please, with respect the wishes of the town council motion. If you'd be so kind.
Councillor Trumbull, did you just want to say something?
I think Council Swanwick has highlighted that for every obviously commercial development has a 30% threshold on it for affordable. I know, but affordable is affordable mix. It's not just private affordable. You've got social housing in there as well. So you've got percentages of social housing, percentages of affordable, which basically is maybe some of the government schemes obviously that apply to that affordable housing mix. So I think there was a development near Scarborough that's 100% basically classed as affordable. So that would be a social housing scheme. So really, I think what Michael is saying now, we really want 100%.
Please, yeah.
100% social housing in one of the developments in the town. So they're looking at, so that's something that possibly could happen on council-owned land. So that's maybe something that we could press for.
Just one final point further, because a lot of people think of this. Affordable housing is 25% of the average house. And in Whitby, we can build a load of houses for 40, 75,000, single detached houses. They're actually 25% for two downs for 375,000. This isn't sort of house.
We do understand that point, Councillor House.
I wonder what the people do. Well, back there.
I think we will need to actually move on. Time is pressing and we've had I think all councillors have the opportunity to speak for once, so I'd like to thank you very much for your input. We need to receive that. Councillor Jerry, seconder, receive the report. Councillor Coughlin, all those in favour? Thank you very much. Moving on, minutes 6A, to approve the accurate record minutes of the following meetings. Council on the 5th of September 2023, Extraordinary Council the 16th of September 2023.
Chair, on those, Councillor Bishop has picked up a couple of drafting errors, which with Council's approval we can correct, which is in minute 172. That it should read, apologies were received from Councillors Mrs Brown, Goodbury and Mrs Sumner, and that was moved by Councillor Hinchley, seconded by Councillor Mrs Wilson, that the apologies received from Councillors Mrs Brown, Goodbury and Mrs Sumner are accepted. So there's just a drafting error in there. And given Councillor Swanwick's comment, if members were happy, at the bottom of the following page, the last bullet point, there was no mention of Whitby or Scarborough Harbours in the economic growth strategy. Would correct that error pointed out by Councillor Swanwick.
My name's Brian again. And which area? It's not what page 5.
Yeah, so it is.
Apologies. Having had a very obscure surname, I know what it's like when it's spelled incorrectly. Right. Can we approve 6AI, Council on the 5th of September 2023? We have a proposal. Councillor Knox, seconder, Councillor Hinchliffe. All those in favour? 6AI, Extraordinary Council, 16th of September 2023. Can we move as Councillor Wilson, seconder, Councillor Coughlin, all those in favour of the Extraordinary Council? Any against? Abstentions? Councillor Jones. To receive the draft minutes of the following committee meetings: 1 Harbour, the 19th of September, 2 Planning and Licensing, the 26th of September, 3 Extraordinary Human Resources, 3rd of October, 4, finance policy and general purposes, 3rd of October. 5, planning licensing, 10th of October. 6, town development and improvement, 17th of October. 7, joint management, 24th of October. 8, planning licensing, 31st of October. We have a proposal to take them on block.
There's something in human resources that I don't want to cover.
To the CJ,
can we talk about that?
They can be talked about under item 7C, but any corrections to those minutes would need to be made by the relevant committee at its next meeting.
We have a proposal to take them on block. Seconded, Councillor Goodfriend. Do we vote to take them on block?
Yeah.
All those who vote to take them on block, receive. Thank you. 7A, committee recommendations and referrals. SP and GP committee, the 3rd of October 2023. 215/23, approval of expenditure. Recommended that the schedule of expenditure up to the 31st of August in the sum of £64,725.67 as attached is approved.
Okay.
Yes?
Just a few queries on that.
Go on then.
You've got Edge IT, we pay £1,500 till 13th of December. And then, why is it then on the for the 8th we paid another 1,300?
One is the annual licence for the finance allotment and the asset management system. The other one is related to expenditure on Office 365. I need to double check which of those is which.
Water bills, is it all metered water that?
It is.
Yeah. What replacement lights, green and electrical, so what is that entail?
The
Christmas lights?
No, the replacement lights are the ceiling lights in the new Key Road toilets, which were damaged by water ingress, and when they were inspected, they were discovered to be uncertifiable, so they had to be replaced.
Okay, and that is at the cost of the council, is it?
It is on that occasion, although we further repairs are now will be down to the contract. So.
And on the ADT 5, right, we've got the figure, there's £7,976. The first page, 13 and 7. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. We turn over to 8 of the 8 and we've got a refund, have we?
We have.
Of nearly the same amount.
Yes. And what happened was they duplicated the bill and then they credited us, but there was the bill that they should have billed us was for less than the original one, so the credited amount is the amount that's credited back less the amount of the second bill.
And finally, confidential transactions, 40,822. Now, 19,800 of those are the wages. What are the other confidential payments that we have?
Those are salary and on-cost payments.
What's on-cost payments?
On-costs are employers' national insurance and employers' pension contributions.
Okay. Yeah. Happy with that.
Thank you. Can we have a approver to recommend? Councillor Goodbury, second by Councillor Cochran. All those in favour? Thank you. 7B. Joint Management Committee, 24th October 2023, 241/233, quotation for electrical works. Recommended to full council that approval be given for these works to be carried out by NTL Electrical Services at a net cost of £13,351.25. Councillor Knott.
I'll just move it.
Move it, okay. Move a seconder. Councillor Godfrey. All those in favour? Thank you. 7C, any other matters for consideration from the minutes noted above?
I've got one for town development.
Which one?
228/23, Clerk's update on matters raised previously.
Yes.
Yorkshire Market, what is this thing with them now? Because we did take Scarborough Council that under the Market Act we're not allowed to have anything on Endeavour Walk, and it was accepted by Scarborough Council, and North Yorkshire County Council seemed to overrule that it is an act of Parliament.
Chair, the refusal of Scarborough Council in its latter days to take the market any further, was not done on against any Markets Act, and there's some debate. There was some debate at Scarborough and there's some debate at North Yorkshire about the applicability of that, and that the Open District Council Act of 1905 incorporated it and rolled it forwards. That's a matter for them. They chose not to hold that market because of local opposition to it. It has been reconsidered by North Yorkshire, and the response that we had from the Chief Executive when we wrote to the Chief Executive and to the leader of North Yorkshire Council was that they had chosen to invite the market there again, that they noted the Town Council's objection to it, but they would continue to hold that market until tomorrow.
Can we ask for an explanation as to why they think they can overrule an act of Parliament? Could you ask that question to them, please?
Chair,
we can do, but the reason why it's back is nothing to do with Act of Parliament. It's the fact that North Yorkshire Council have declined to listen to our objections and have brought it back. I suppose we could ask them if they feel that running this market is contrary to the Market Act and see what their response is. Would you want to propose that?
Yes,
Mr. Mayor, Councillor Riddle is putting that forward as a motion. I will second it.
Councillor Knott will second it then. All those in favour in relation to that motion to ask North Yorkshire? Against? Abstain? Councillor Redfern, do you want to raise?
Just a minor point, just on the Harbour meeting on the 19th September, in which I didn't attend, was through no fault of my own, and the Chair has apologised that there was a miscommunication, and there was a proposal to change the date of the meeting, which then wasn't carried out, but I wasn't made aware that the meeting was going ahead. So the Chair has apologised for that meeting, but it was just to make the Council aware that it was through no fault of my own.
Right, your absence was due to miscommunication. Okay, duly noted. Okay, any other matters under 7C? We need to just receive those.
Well, there's a resolution under 7C which has dealt with those points, but the second one is yet to note the other points that were made.
Right. And we propose to note the points that have been raised under 7C. Councillor Jones, seconder. Councillor Cochran, all those in favour? Thank you very much. 8. Committee places. To consider any outstanding committee and substitute vacancies. Note that there is a new vacancy on the Town Development and Improvement Committee due to the resignation of a councillor from that committee.
Mr. Mayor, I propose that Councillor Jones takes that vacant seat as he is now existing servant on that committee. Subject to his wishes to do so.
Unless nobody else comes forward, I'm going to reject that for the time being. As a sub, I'm already basically on it all the time anyway, because he's not to do.
Okay.
I'm more than happy to remain a sub for the time being.
Okay, so the Town Development then.
Councillor Hinchliffe expressed an
Councillor Hinchcliffe, do you express an interest in the
Yes.
town development?
Yes, I'm going to reserve it for Councillor Howcroft.
Well, at the moment on town development, we have a vacancy and we still have a substitute for a vacancy.
Could I nominate Councillor Abbott to go forward on that? I'm very conscious that councillors have had issues with not being representative on committee, and I think that this would be an opportunity. But if Councillor Abbott, of course, wants to take that position.
We don't have an indication from Councillor Abbott as to whether or not he would wish to do that, so it would be difficult to do it in his absence without knowing. And previous decisions have worked against him.
Well, is it possible I want to second that? Because I can remember at the time, Councillor Abbott was really very upset about what he classed as a mix-up. So could we hold that in the base and ask Councillor Abbott?
It can be.
Could I suggest the easiest thing then is to defer allocation to town development and improvement until Councillor Abbott is present at the meeting to ensure that there's no...
I'm happy with that.
Me too.
Okay, so... But we still have got substitute vacancies. We've got substitute vacancies on planning, art gallery, Whitby Museum, joint management, the Panic Art Gallery, Town Development and Improvement Committee, notwithstanding the substantive vacancy. So, do we have any councillors interested in taking any of those substitute?
I'll do town development.
Oh, sorry, I apologise. So, just go back. You'd be happy to do the substitute for town development, councillor?
Yes.
Do we have any other councillors interested? You proposing yourself. Do we have a seconder for Councillor Hinchcliffe then? Councillor Goodby, all those in favour? And we have a vacancy on planning. Do we have any councillors interested in the planning committee?
Mr. Mayor, if I may, there's a Zoom webinar coming up put on by Andrew Charlton, who is an expert in planning. He's offering a basic course in planning. I've done that. It is very much worthwhile going on, and I recommend it to anyone that take a lot of the myth out of planning, but it might even encourage someone to please come along and have a look. I think they can sit on the committee. I do commend it to you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Right. We don't seem to have got any people rushing to volunteer for these committees. If councillors can bear it in mind, councillors are more than welcome to come along to any planning meeting to see exactly what does happen. It is a very important meeting. It does meet on a fairly regular basis, so it can be a bit of an onerous task at times, but I think if we leave it at that...
Chair, that leaves the question of populating the steering group for the neighbourhood plan.
Right.
And we have one community volunteer thus far. We were able to populate it with members. It could do more to stimulate some
How many
community
people do
involvement.
we need for the neighbourhood plan?
The original suggestion was 5 members.
5 councillors
There's only 6 of us.
on planning. Could have others. Doesn't have to be just...
It doesn't. The proposal was that it would be an advisory working group or a subcommittee of the planning committee, which would take forwards the practical side, but in that sense, by broadening out the representation, it needn't be 5 members of the planning committee.
The starting point is, do we have councillors who are interested in going on to the neighbourhood planning subcommittee?
Yes, I'd like to do it.
Councillor Copeland. Councillor Goodbury. Councillor Wiggles. Councillor Hinchcliffe. And Councillor Brown. Do we need to have anyone from planning on?
It's not strictly necessary. In fact, that... yes, we can say it was so,
I think we've got 5 then. Right, so councillors that nominated Councillor Cockman, Woodbury, Hinchcliffe, Riddles and Brown. No others? Shall we propose for that, to accept that group then? Councillor Wild, second by Councillor Howson. All those in favour? Against? Abstentions? Right, thank you. Mr. Burr.
There's one of the committee, there's the 106 thing that Peter Cross was on. Where is that? Is that a council?
Chair, that was a council nomination, and it could be picked up at this point.
So we do have a set of 106, it's attending the 106 meetings for the allocation of the 106 funding, led by, it was Scarborough down North Yorkshire, following the guidelines that the council set out for the representative on that committee. Do we have a representative who'd like to go? We've met once, has it?
There've been no indication of any further meetings, although there has been some paperwork backwards and forwards in terms of the decision making.
Do we have a volunteer?
Is this for the 106
Yes.
meeting? Where are the meetings held, please?
I believe they were held virtually.
Yeah, virtually, I think.
Right. Well, if you can't find anybody else, I'll do it.
Do you want to go ahead? Councillor Coughlin has put forward a name. We have a second of Councillor Coughlin. Yes, Councillor Goodby. All those in favour? You're on. Councillor Coughlin.
No.
Yes.
Would it be possible to add to the summonses for committee meetings the names of the subs? I've also put a reminder in there that it is the duty of the member apologising to notify the sub that he's doing so.
I think we normally are catching up, but it would be useful to indicate on them that these are the substitutes.
Yeah.
I think at one point though we had a bit of confusion because substitutes' names were on the summons, they were turning up and they didn't realise that they didn't need to turn up. Just needs to be made clear that if their name is on the summons, unless they're contacted, it's just for information only.
Yeah, well, I'll put that proviso in.
Yeah. Well,
they're separated.
Okay. We've covered that.
Yes, we do.
Okay. Number 9, outcome of town poll. To consider the outcome of the town poll and any action if required. Item 9.
Chair, at page 49 is a notice of the outcome of the poll produced by North Yorkshire Council, and indeed the appendix to that is the original notice of the poll. The results are as stated. The papers verify the 310, turnout was 3.07%. The votes cast in favour and against each of the individual questions are shown there. The key determinants is that obviously as a poll and as a self-selecting poll, those results are 100% confident in terms of the outcome of the 310. Statistically, you can draw no inference in terms of the rest of the population, but that's what the poll returned.
And those figures are statistically stand, and they're a great deal higher than North Yorkshire use in their own surveys. They use about 0.05%, this is well over that.
Chair, just to note, the Royal Statistical Society says that you cannot draw inference from a sample that isn't a random sample. If it's a self-selecting sample, you cannot apply statistical methods to it.
Right. Anyway, we have got the results. Whether or not people believe they're statistically relevant or not, the results are there. So, councillors, as it states, any actions if required, what the councillors' views. We've got 3 separate questions, 3 separate results. What the councillors wish to propose. I think we should listen to what the town told us. That's what we're here for. So what our councillors wish to propose. We can read what the poll says, what action the councillors want to take.
I think we should vote on each one of each thing.
I don't think we can vote on question 1 because this council cannot instruct councillors to resign en masse. This council does not have the power to tell other councillors that they have to resign from their position. So, in my opinion, question 1 cannot be voted on because it is illegal.
Well, why is that the electoral change have accepted that as a valid question?
Because this is separate to the town council. This is the Whitley Parish poll, and the Whitley Parish poll says, should the present members of Whitley Town Council resign en masse to facilitate the democratic election by the ballot of a fully mandated representative town council for Whitley? I think the best we can do is to note that that is the result of the poll. We cannot vote to say we can resign. I cannot force any council member by vote to resign. I think the only thing we can say is if it is up to individual councillors that if they feel that this question and the result is so important that they want to take it on board, then that's down to their individual actions.
Don't we have a recorded vote?
On what?
We're having a vote surely. We're not going to vote on whether we accept what the people are saying. We're just going to say that we've read it and that's it.
I think all we can do is to note that that is the result.
To be fair, Mr. Mayor, if a councillor did want to, they could raise a motion out of this that was something along the different lines. They're not. That's your suggestion. I don't know what that would be, but they could come up with something.
Well,
they're at liberty to.
Motion could not be that this town council instructs councillors to resign en masse.
But there could be something someone comes up with.
Okay,
I just don't like the appearance people tell it. People might go, you're telling them to be.
What is the motion on this, on question 1 then? Councillor Barnett.
Sure. You know, I mean, this is a democratic poll. Do you really think that? And the vast majority is yes.
Yes.
And you're saying, because you personally don't think it's appropriate to vote on it, then you shouldn't vote on it.
No, what I'm saying is the vote cannot be that Whitby Town Council instructs present members to resign en masse as a result of this poll.
That's what was polled. This is what people want us to take away.
But we can't, it is illegal. The town council cannot vote to instruct councillors to resign. That is illegal, isn't it?
It is unlawful. There are no powers for this council or the principal council as the election authority to enforce resignation. It is a matter absolutely for individual councillors. Insofar as the poll is persuasive, it is persuasive of individual councillors. Therefore, as the town mayor said, the town council cannot make a lawful resolution other than to note that or to refer it to the conscience of individual members.
Can we have a motion then saying, just asking the councillors whether they think that we should resign or not?
No, because you can't. That's
not saying you have to, just saying that, you know, what the general opinion of the council are. Because we've been asked by the town.
What is your motion then, Councillor Whittle? What is the wording?
I don't feel like just what it says. I mean, yeah, it's so awful.
No, yes. Might I suggest that the proposer and seconder of this motion stand by their principles and resign, and thereby perhaps set an example to everyone else who may or may not choose to follow it. don't you?
Sorry.
That is not what the speaker was with me about. You've got to ask, you've got to vote on something that the people will be.
If we vote on it, we can't vote on something that is unlawful. Excuse me, you don't want...
With all due respect, sir.
So with all due respect...
It's not unlawful to have a motion.
With all due respect, can you please be
lawful to
quiet?
prevent that motion. It is lawful for any member to propose a motion. That is law of the country.
Chair, the motion must be in respect to a power or a duty of the Town Council.
So suggest a motion then, Councillor Whittle, that is within the power of the Town Council relating to question 1.
I haven't got that knowledge. I would bow to someone who has that knowledge to put one together. I mean, could the town clerk put one together that would not be the more?
I think the best motion would be that this council notes that at the Whitley Parish poll, the majority of voters agreed with the question, should the present members of Whitley Town Council resign en masse to facilitate the democratic election by ballot of a fully mandated representative Town Council for Whitley. We will be noting the result of the poll and it will be formally recorded within the council minutes.
Well, that's for me. I'm not to add up that because that isn't doing that.
If you want to make that motion, I'm happy to second that motion.
I just don't think what you just said, there's no point saying it because yes, right, so we've accepted
it. It is because this parish poll has got nothing to do with the Town Council until we accept the poll. This is a parish poll by the parish meeting. It's not a Town Council resolution.
No, but
unless we...
I do understand that, but...
Unless we note it, it will not be recorded in the minutes.
But I can't see, which the people have said, have spoken, we should at least go some way to answering their question, I think. I just think it's
that's the problem.
Right. Out of the population, I don't know what our population is now, is it 10,500?
The electorate was 10,000. I think we need to just stick with this motion. The question has been, the parish poll has said yes to this question. What is we as a council going to do to respond to it? Councillor Jones.
I'm going to move that we just note it. But can I make the following point as I do? I want us to advise those councillors who want to clearly do something more about this, but obviously can't. I certainly knew, and I feel like you should have known the fact that this was not something this council could do itself. The decision to resign and hold these elections, and we spoke about a town meeting like this, it's in our individual power, it's not in this body's power, it's up to us. If you want us to all resign, you should be reaching out with a proposal to resign. It doesn't matter the turnout's only 3.07%, it doesn't matter no one actually cares. If you feel genuinely passionate enough about democracy, it's up to you to contact us personally and say, hey, look, we want to resign, will you do it? It doesn't matter about this on the poll. I tell you, I'm ready to resign. I've already designed my election leaflet. I'm really ready for a fight. This is not the way to do it. And it is embarrassing that you don't seem to understand that that's not
I totally understand it, but the question is not saying that individuals should resign.
So I think that we know.
Should all resign. That is what the question is. And I don't mind. What?
Can we go back to this parish poll? Either to note. We have a proposal that the Whitley Town Council notes the result of question 1 and the fact that 310 votes, 225 said yes and 73 said no.
Do I have a second then?
Yes, I'll second.
Councillor Wilde. We have a proposer and a seconder. The Whitley Town Council notes the result of question 1, should the present members of Whitby Town Council resign en masse to facilitate a democratic election by ballot of a fully mandated representative town council for Whitby, of which 225 voters said yes and 73 said no. All those in favour of noting? Against? Abstain? Question 2. Should Whitby Town Council petition the Department for Levelling Up Homes and Communities to hold and re-examine the Whitby Town Deal Board projects to regenerate the marketplace and restrict the projects to the renovation of the old town hall? First of all, can I ask you a question of the town clerk? Does the town council have the authority to petition the department, as we are not the legal authority for the town deal?
Chair, we do. I've sought advice from the Yorkshire Local Councils Association. They've confirmed that the council may petition, although it has no statutory role in the process.
So, this,
Can I ask for clarification on the position of those of us that have been of the town board? We should, in fact, take part in any vote on this or not. I would just like clarification on that before we do go forward.
It would be better that those members who have declared that interest did not take part in any vote on this or the third question.
Right. So, councillors have declared an interest at the start. The advice is that those councillors do not vote on this. And therefore, the question seems to be the motion. The question is actually a motion. Should Whitby Town Council petition the Department for Levelling Up Homes and Communities to hold and re-examine the Whitby Town Deal Board projects to regenerate the marketplace and to restrict the project to the renovation of the old town hall? All those in favour of Whitby Town Council petitioning the department?
Chair, need to move on a second.
Oh, sorry, proposer. Councillor Little, seconder. Councillor Barnett.
Can I propose an amendment to that, Mr. Mayor?
What is your amendment?
Whitby Town Council petitions the Department for Levelling Up Housing and Communities to draw the Secretary of State's attention to the significance of the views expressed in the town hall called by local electors and seeks that he takes appropriate and proportionate action.
Do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Brown.
You vote on the amendment first, Chair.
So we're voting on Councillor Knott's amendment. Could you read it out again, please, Councillor?
Whitby Town Council petitions the Department for Levelling Up Housing and Communities to draw the Secretary of State's attention to the significance of the views expressed in the town hall called by local electors and seeks that he takes appropriate and proportionate action.
We have a proposer and a seconder. All those in favour of the amendment? Against? That's now substantive.
The substantive does need to be voted on again, Chair.
We now vote. Do we have a proposal? That's now the substantive. Do we have a proposal for the substantive?
Essentially, we go back to Councillor Riddles and Councillor Barnett who propose a motion.
Right, that's now the amendment. We vote on it now. You proposed the second, you've accepted that amendment. All those in favour of voting for the amended motion, which is what we just voted on. All those in favour? Against? Abstaining? Councillor Redfern.
Technically, Councillor Redfern isn't voting because
Oh, you can't. Sorry. And so, number 3. Should the Town Council petition the Department for Levelling Up Homes and Communities to hold and re-examine the consultation with Whitby residents the Whitby Town Deal Board project to build a maritime training hub on Endeavour Wharf?
No, that just the same order.
It's all going to the same person.
Sorry?
Can't that just all be part of the same motion? Or just chuck that lot in, is it?
It's two poll questions.
If it's just got the same.
Yeah, no, but it's...
Yeah.
Use the same stand. Use the same form of words, Chair. That's what
If that's the case, I'll propose a stand motion for question 3.
Right, we have a substantive amendment from Councillor Knock in relation to question 3, which would be... Have we any proposals?
Again, I think, Chair, that Councillor Knock is hence then taking the amended form of words as the main proposal
Yes.
for this. Yeah. But we need it moving.
Do you want it again?
Yes.
Whitby Town Council petitions the Department for Levelling Up Housing and Communities to draw the Secretary of State's attention to the significance of the views expressed in the town poll or by local electors and seeks that he takes appropriate and proportionate action.
And the seconder? That's a Brown. All those in favour? Against? Councillor Jones, abstaining? 3.
All 3.
Oh, sorry, 4. It's carried then.
Yes.
All 3 have been decided upon. Yeah, we vote on the amendment, we now need to vote on the substantive.
No, that was simply proposed as a motion.
Okay, thank you. Number 10, casual vacancy, co-option timetable. To consider proceeding a timetable for co-option casual vacancy in the Westcliff ward. It has been confirmed by North Yorkshire Council that following the resignation of the previous member of Westcliff ward, no poll has been claimed in the advertised period, and that consequently the Town Council should proceed to fill the vacancy by co-option. We have all the details on item 10. Michael, something you want to...
Chair, if it was to follow the format previously used, then the eligibility criteria are set out on page 54, and the procedure would be that applicants would be asked to submit a written summary, and councillors previously determined that any application without a summary wouldn't be considered, that said what their reasons for wishing to be a councillor are, any previous experience, any skills they would bring, and their particular interests, recent career history. So in essence, they qualify by residency in terms of being within 3 miles of the ward, as would normally be the case, and they need to submit an application countersigned by 2 electors in the ward. And that's the procedure that's been followed previously. Again, it's clear that there is a duty on the council to fill any vacancy by co-option if there is a legally suitable and legally qualified and suitable candidate. The timetable is proposed on page 53.
Councillor Jarrett?
It's possible to ask possibly a silly question. Is it within the council's power to extend the period in which an election can be called to the seat, or is that beyond us? I can tell.
That's beyond the statutory process.
Is it slightly discriminatory if we've got someone who's illiterate? They can't actually, I mean, in this day and age, I mean, you know, doesn't mean to say you would make a good councillor because you can't read them out. I know there's problems, but are we to judge someone?
We can't hear down here. I'm sorry we can't hear. Sorry, Councillor, can you say that again?
Basically, I was just saying, is it discriminatory? Is it a discrimination act thing if someone can't read or write, but we're actually saying they can't be a councillor? Like what we're saying there.
Chair, the rules with respect to discrimination would apply so that reasonable adjustments would be made if somebody wished to make an application that was non-written, then either they could use an amanuensis or somebody to describe that for them, and they could make their applications. in a non-written form, they would still require the signature of two.
And what I would do with the group, I'd be proposing that the group gets together and looks at saying this is how much we think it's going to be, and make that recommendation to council, including in finance.
Can I just ask in that case, having been part of that group, I wasn't entirely convinced that the process we've been through is necessarily going to get us the required results. For various reasons, including, I have to say, the fact that we haven't even consulted with the clerk and the deputy clerk who will be using this system. So, can I seek some reassurance that we're not just going to accept what we've had so far and rush ahead into ordering or getting something that is not really going to be much better than what we've got already?
No, my view is I think the information that we've got now allows us to identify how much it's likely to be costing, put that in the budget, and then we do all the other things that need to be done. It is just identifying the cost element that we can work, that we need to include. Otherwise, it's an unfunded requirement, and we won't get it anyway.
I did a lot of work on that.
Yeah, I know, but it's very important. Any other external reports? And we just...
I'm Monica, and it was great to there was nothing new to tell us, but it just gave us an update on the bill. We saw a presentation of what it looks like on the ground, which is unbelievable. They will bring that presentation to the town council so you can have a look. Because if you see what it looks like underground, it's not like a little tunnel. It's things that are like how high were they, John? Was it something like, how high were those tunnels? They were absolutely huge, weren't they?
People will say those channels could be about 4 feet high. You build a house and you can live in it quite comfortably.
But we can have the minutes on. There was nothing new to tell us because they've told us it already, but when they come to the next meeting, they'll give us an update. And I think they're saying now they've got 1,600 people and they've got job adverts. What is some of the 200 jobs?
Yes,
out. And everything is just moving forward and ahead of schedule. So it was a very, very, very interesting presentation. It was all about the visuals of how it looks. So when they come next time, they'll bring that, but they'll also let us have the minutes as well on the meeting.
Lovely.
That's all right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just ask a question, Councillor White, please?
Quickly, yes.
When was that meeting?
Last Thursday.
I never got notification of that.
Yeah.
No?
That's a shame because it was an interesting...
Yeah, I didn't get notification of it, but I'd like to go to those. Secondly, how far on are they?
They're ahead of schedule. I don't know how far on that one. Are they doing... There's so many factors because...
Okay, fine.
But they are well ahead.
I'll call them for me doing the reporting.
And you know when we were doing a metre a day? Do you remember that? We just actually could move it a metre a day. We've passed that phase now. So that is fantastic. You know, they've done the metre a day and everything's been sheared and done.
Very good.
Thank you. Can we receive those external reports? Councillor Cochran, Councillor Turner, all those in favour? Mayor's reports, looking at to the coastal area parish board last night. Be quick. Interestingly, the question of holiday nets in Hinderwell parish came up, and they are holding a separate meeting to discuss that very matter. One single agenda item. We learned that British Telecom landlines will also be decommissioned at some time in the near future. Current landlines will be diverted to a router within the household at no cost. Vulnerable people, people who don't have digital access, have other hindrances to their life, will not be, will also change ultimately, but at no disturbance to them.
it will be seamless for everybody. But all lines will go in time. If there are any queries, dial 150 and you can ask questions there. We also learned that in terms of the decline of nature and biodiversity, England currently lies at 234 out of 240 countries where biodiversity is adversely affected. So clearly we're not doing enough, and the suggestion is that we in the north east of England are not doing enough as well. Those people involved with the local budget, local plan, neighbourhood plan, might like to contact Elspeth Ingleby at North York Moors. She's the senior ecology officer, and she will point you in the right direction of the items to include to make sure that we are doing the right thing and give us a better chance of getting the plan accepted. Just the point I'd like to make, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. If we include that, then the Mayor's report, I'll say very quickly about 3 engagements since 6th September. 28th of September, together with other councillors, we attended the 200th anniversary of the opening of the Whitby Museum. Very interesting, very good to see behind the scenes. 1st of October, together with other councillors, I went to the blessing of the boats at Whitby Lifeboat Station. On the 14th of October, I went to the Dalesman Singers Gala concert, which was very good. If you want to see them, I think you should do. They're going to be at the Whitby Brewery on the 22nd of December. Well worth a visit. If you want any more details about that, please ask me afterwards. Clerk's report.
Yes, thank you, Chair. As written, there are 2 things to add that have come in more recently. One is, I circulated today the information about the community governance review that has been requested in terms of reducing the number of members on this council. You'll note that North Yorkshire have taken a view that until the Boundary Commission's review of the divisional boundaries is completed in 2025, they're not minded to take any community governance review other than an urgent review forward. So we hold our breath and wait until 2025, but they have taken note of both the outcome of the parish meeting, but also the town council's resolution on that. And the other item that came through recently was, you may recall, Scott Wickham's presentation on the proposed pump track on the West Cliff. He has approached me to inquire whether the council might consider, dependent on the figures, getting into an arrangement to sort of host that, because he's discovered that a CIC, which is how they want to set the pump track up, might find it very difficult to ensure that. It is done elsewhere by parish councils, and that if members were comfortable with the idea at least of exploring that and getting figures on it, that's something the council could consider. It could then approach our insurers to find out what the likely cost of that would be. So I merely put that as a recommendation that you empower me at least to pull the information together for a consideration at a future meeting. Other than that, the items as listed, Chair.
On your report this about the Remembrance Sunday, Councillor Croft and I were going to be stewarding the ceremony on Cocaine. Well, Councillor Croft resigned, and I actually won't be here now on Sunday. So we're looking for volunteers to just to make sure that the rooms, the places clear for whatever for the people marching on and everything, just keeping stewarding it or whatever. So there's a couple of people who will be willing to do that on Sunday morning at 11 o'clock down at the bandstand. Not bandstand, but one on the Quay. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else?
That's all.
Can I just check both events are on Sunday, aren't they?
Yeah. There's a debate Saturday morning now, and then
Pardon?
there is Saturday morning. because that's the 11th.
Thomas Estate.
So there's something what's happening on the Saturday on the 11th?
11 o'clock.
It's a minute silence. The Deputy Harbour Master will blow his whistle. There's no parade, there's no wider organised event. And the director will say a short break.
Is there something on the Sunday morning?
Yes.
Now what's that? The second the we have every year.
That's set out on page 59.
No one has left the house.
And then the church service is 2:30. Councillor Woodward?
System of service on the Saturday morning, Lifeboat station, followed by the boat taking the Reed to Sea.
I don't know.
I believe there is. Normally they take a couple of sea cadets and chaplain, and then they go on the short service on land and then go on there, put the Reed over the side.
Okay.
I believe that's on Saturday morning.
Okay, it's 11 o'clock.
I think it's either after them.
Okay, Councillor Knott? Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Under item G, there's a clerk's report. I noticed that Jacob Young is now the new Minister for DLUHC. He's also on the board of South East Development Corporation. I guess Van Houten is going to leave him up there for a great deal of time. Let us hope, Mr. Mayor, that he has time to read the letters that the clerk will be sending through in the next few days. I'd also like to make a comment on the housing strategy. I looked at this, and all it is, quite frankly, is a wish list of platitudes. It doesn't address any of the issues directly. So we will address this, we will look at this, that and the other, not what we're actually going to do. On point K, I think it's worth noting that in the not too distant future, S106 is going to be replaced by an infrastructure levy, which will have rather more important ramifications than the S106. That's all. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Coughlin?
Sorry, Mr. Mayor. Just to clarify, is it 2 o'clock, pardon me, or 2:30 at St Mary's?
2:30.
2:30. Can I remind councillors that part of your job of being a town councillor, part of your remit is to attend, especially the Sunday afternoon service. And the last couple of years we've been very thin on the ground. Surely some of you can come and show your faces at the service at St Mary's. It's a very nice service, and you'll be very welcome.
Last year I was the only one in the whole group. It was embarrassing. Town councillor, and I was the next. You were home with it.
Thank you. Can we receive the clerk's report and also note give the town clerk consent to explore the public track?
Yes.
Councillor Coughlin, Councillor Turner, all those in favour? Renewal of energy contract.
Thank you, Chair. Very briefly, because otherwise we're running out of time. You may know the energy market works so you can get a price, but the price only lasts for 24 hours. So I got prices this afternoon from our energy broker. The electricity supply contract runs to the 31st of March next year. The gas supply actually runs until October 2026, I believe, but there's an opportunity to extend that, but only by a couple of years. The prices that have been received, the best price is for electricity is from Total, our current supplier, on an extension that would take us to a unit price of 9.7 pence per unit and a daily standing charge of 19.83. That would still see an increase from our current usage, which is an estimated annual spend of 15,894, to an estimated annual spend of just under £20,000. But that price has been fixed for the last 4 years, but we need to take that into account in terms of cost of energy for next year. In terms of the gas renewals, the best quote from those that we've sought were NG Renewal, Total Energies were linked to as well, British Gas and SSE. But again, the existing supplier NG provided us with the best overall quote. And in 2026 that would rise to £16,346.80. compared to the current amount, which is 9,600 a year. But that's, obviously that's 3 years hence.
Yes, no, it's going to come down, definitely. I would be careful there. That's a lot of money, the big rise.
The advice, and we sought advice from more than one broker, is that the energy prices continue to rise, but it is. We are fortunate to be on the existing deal for the next 3 years, but that's where we are. Council could hold off on the gas price because we've got 3 years worth of contracts before we need to renew. Just the advice was to extend that. But the electricity one needs to extend from next year, and the recommendation from the broker is that we renew with Total Energy on the electricity because that's the best price.
So, would the view of council be that we need to extend the electricity but we hold on the gas?
Electricity is a good deal.
Yeah, it runs out 31st of March, so we need to do that anyway.
Yeah.
But gas is still 2026, so we've got some time for that. So I think we renew we take a new contract with electricity, but we stick with the old gas.
Which is NG on the existing contract of 2026, and we pencil in to look at renewal prices in the year's time.
Any proposals to that? Councillor Wilson, second. Councillor Goodwin, all those in favour? Thank you. Item 16, flooding awareness. Up to the 9th of January 2024, above 5.5 metres, 14th to 15th of November, 26th to 29th of November, 14th to 16th of December. Can I have someone to receive those? Councillor Knott, Councillor Turner, all those in favour? Thank you very much. I declare the council closed.